All righty, good evening, everyone. It is that time. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for all those of you that made it through the rain. We appreciate your presence here today. Mr. Tillman went to go do a gentleman's act and close somebody's door out in the rain, so he'll be joining us in just a little bit. So thank you, Vice President Tillman, for doing that. We'll call the meeting to order, and we will move on to 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. And today it'll be led virtually by Rio Vista Elementary School, 6th grade students Nathan, I hope I get this right, Chandy, Kaylin Davis, and Monica Vargas. So let's all please stand.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Face the flag, put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Well done, well done. Thank you, Rio Vista Elementary School and our wonderful students. All right, we are going to move on to, I think I just lost our AIC. Where did she go? Is she coming back? All right. We're going to move on to 1.3, approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
It was moved by Ms. Rosas Medina, seconded by Ms. Ceballos. All right, any discussion or items to pull?
I'd like to pull item 11.3, Dr. Wyatt.
All right, thank you,
for
Ms.
further
Applegate.
information.
For further information. Any other items to pull or discuss? Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Ms. Alexander? That's up to you.
I would like for us to further discuss the resolution that for transportation when that time comes up.
And which number is that?
And point two.
10.2? All right, 10.2, thank you very much. All right, if there are no others,
Just for point of
Mr. Tillman, Vice
clarification,
President Tillman?
yeah, normally when we get to the item, we're going to discuss it.
Okay, I did it. But just wanted to make sure. All right, thank you, Vice President Tillman. I let him know your kind act, being a gentleman as well. So thank you, Vice President Tillman, for going out in the rain for us. All righty, folks, the agenda has been amended, so let's go ahead and vote on the agenda as it is amended. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to 1.4, inspirational message. And our wonderful message will be brought to us by Miss Mary Ellen Aviles Grande. Miss Grande.
Okay, I won't sing, I promise. I am so very honored to be your newest elected board member. My goal is to be an effective and hardworking team member and transparent in all things as much as the law allows. My message tonight is twofold. I want to share thoughts about this job and a message for parents, guardians, and caretakers. That said, I'm happy to report my first 5 months as a board member has been surprising and great, illuminating and wonderful. It's been like the movie A Night in the Museum, where everything inside a large old learning institution and its characters all come to life, and each with their own story. I knew everything about my district. I thought after 20 years in the district, I thought I knew everything about it, and it was just not so. I only knew the view from where I was, not from where I could be, and not where I am now. I have discovered the level of involvement and concern of our district in and for the lives of our scholars, parents, and staff is at an all-time high and always can get better. I discovered our partnership with our county school board has helped strengthen my view that San Bernardino is an outstanding example for constantly seeking change and improvements in schools in all areas and departments. I discovered I would like to see a better choice of food choices, a better selection of food choices that match cultural beliefs while maintaining good nutrition. Also, I wish to share, I recently served as a participant for a county-wide student advisory panel. Students from different school districts were and are selected to work together on the most serious issues of today for students: drugs, mental health, housing, food, safety, career, and college. High school students, freshmen to seniors, presented their personal stories and their research to leaders in our community with stunning insight and ability to tell it like it is, and gave us solutions for the future. I discovered in our own school district, we already have such a student advisory board, and we are soon to have student trustees, hopefully, on our school board once again. I no longer fear for our future. Our future is here. My future, the one I plan for, is here. I believe our schools and our town will continue to respond to our needs and the needs of all our scholars. We will raise test scores. We will raise our test scores. We will intentionally choose engaging and positive curriculum and curricula that has been tested and found to be successful in districts such as ours. But right now, we just must simply live. We must just simply go on living the best life we can, not ever give up hope, not be afraid to speak up, and we must maintain those lessons learned from COVID. Our district advances on physical safety and health practices from our COVID experience, our professional development for teachers and staff will continue to propel us. Our district and our town, our places of fellowship and worship, our shared experiences, all bring us forward, to continue to bring us forward to become models for community school designation. But make no mistake, we already are community schools. I end with this. As a teacher, what I know best are parents, our guardians, our caregivers, and I give thanks to you. I am grateful for how hard you work for your students to succeed in life. And so I say, the number one thing you can do to help them is be sure they get to school. The ask is, please continue to improve your students' attendance. School is the very best place for kids to be, to learn, to be with others, to learn how to communicate and talk. Read together. Let your older students see you trying to be funny. Sing, dance. Learn to tell a joke and tell them stories about themselves. Use puppets, make Play-Doh, make homemade costumes. Learn or teach to make cookies or tortillas. Practice karaoke and try to breathe deeply every day. Teach them to organize and how to get ready for school the night before. These are the things that help them succeed at school, career, and life. Oh, and go back to school yourself to become a teacher, a baker, a candlestick maker. No matter what you need or how long it takes, make it happen. My point is, your students need to see you happy too. Call a board member. Any one of us could help and guide you. Thank you for listening.
All righty, Ms. Aviles Grande. Well done. 5 months already, huh? Went by fast, really fast. So that's what happens when you're busy out there getting it done. Good job. All right, we're going to move on to 2.0, Special Presentations and Recognitions. 2.1, Resolution and Recognition of School Library Month and National School Librarian Day. And it'll be Board Member Ms. Felicia Alexander.
Thank you. Whereas School Library Month is recognized annually and every April by the American Association of School Librarians, and Whereas school libraries provide materials that encourage growth and knowledge, reflect the ideas and beliefs of religious, social, political, historical, and ethnic groups, and their contributions to American and world heritage and culture. And whereas school libraries provide material to meet individual needs, varied interests, abilities, social economic backgrounds, and maturity levels of the students served. And whereas school libraries are an integral part of the instructional program of schools and provide books to encourage school children to read for pleasure and knowledge. And whereas annually on April 4th, National School Librarian Day recognizes the professionals who are dedicated to creating and maintaining an environment where students feel welcome and have the print and digital resources to learn every day of the year.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Rosales Medina and seconded by Vice President Tillman. Any discussion?
I do want to add that I'm just really proud of our school district and here in California as well, that we have not removed books compared to what other areas are removing, especially when it comes to our African American studies or different diverse backgrounds as well. So I'm just really happy that we're in a place that we're in right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina. It's been moved and properly second. Any other discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote on the resolution. All right, resolution carries. We'll move on to 3.0, public hearing. We'll go ahead and close regular session and then reopen for 3.1, which is initial contract proposal, reopen on Article 11, wages, and then reopen on Article 7, unit members' rights. At this time, we'll conduct a public hearing. Are there any public comments?
Yes, there is. Teresa Hunter, please come forward.
All righty. Good evening and welcome, Ms. Hunter.
I think that's it. Okay. Good evening, Honorable Board and staff. I'm Teresa Hunter with Communications Workers of America, CWA Local 9588, here to introduce our 2023 reopener. And as noted in the agenda, pertains to those articles. Thank you very much. And we put forward the reopener. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. You sound so professional and serious. I'm just.
Yes, you are. Well done. Yes, sir. Well done. All right. Any other public comments, Ms. Cunningham? There are not. Okay. Any comments by board members? Questions? Very good. We'll go ahead and. Oop, that was about to fall apart. Go ahead and close the contract proposal session on that, on members' rights. And we'll go ahead and, I'm sorry, actually I have to read a be it resolved, so my apologies. Let me redo that. So we are not closed yet. Be it resolved, the Board of Education receives the initial contract proposal, reopener Article 11, wages, and Article 7, unit members' rights from the Communication Workers of America, CWA.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Jahusky and seconded by Vice President Tillman. Now any discussion or questions on that? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion on 3.1 carries. So we will now close that session for the public hearing. Reopen for open session. We'll move on to 4.0, public comments. 4.1, receive public comments. This is the only time the public will have an opportunity to address the board on items not on the agenda and within their subject matter jurisdiction, such as district policies, procedures, programs, services, or fiscal matters. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. 6 or more people who wish to speak on one topic will be provided no more than 30 minutes total. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because these comments are made at a public meeting. All right, our first public speaker this evening will be Jewel Patterson. Welcome, Ms. Patterson.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
If it's okay, I would like for our student to go first, and then I'll come after her. Is that
Okay, and how many speakers are you going to have? Only one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Gianna. I'm a junior at Indian Springs High School. As you may know, last month, students held a peaceful protest at my school. Despite the vague messages that have been released by the school and media, I'm here to speak on behalf of the students at Indian Springs High School who have been ignored and lied to well before February 28, 2023, the day of the incidents. Prior to the protests, many students have had to face challenges on campus, and once they reported it to staff, no changes were made. Students are forced to coexist with a school climate that dismisses sexual harassment, racism, anti-Blackness, discrimination, bullying, and other concerns that were lifted at the protest. Members of ISHS staff have traumatized their students and failed to take accountability time and time again. Statements issued by the school have failed to tell these stories and even further, provided false information on the incident. This has caused students involved in the peaceful protest to be harassed on campus and allowed for misinformed parents to harass students off campus as well. While students are being bullied, staff and admins simply sit back and watch, so a peaceful protest was all we could do to be heard as students. We feel unsafe at school in the hands of adults like these, including campus security and COs and school administration. I came to this meeting today as a last resort to speak up on the wrongdoings at our school. The following is a list of things that students need to feel unsafe and included on campus. A scripted apology to students who faced violence from school admin and staff, including from the school police who used illegal and violent tactics on students. A more thorough and frequently updated enforced cultural competency training for school admin and staff to be role models we deserve on campus by promoting messages of equity and belonging over being dismissive. Student voices to be taken seriously by implementing a student council. An updated reporting and problem-solving system that is effective for both staff and students. That includes transparent follow-ups for students' peace of mind and understanding. All privileges restored to students involved in the peaceful protest. That includes going to prom and being able to walk the stage for graduation. Students shouldn't be penalized for trying to make our schools safe when none of the adults would. As I'm sure you understand, this is an urgent matter we hope to hear back from you by your next board meeting on April 4th. Thank you for helping us students be heard and helping our schools make a safer place for all of us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And is it Miss Gianna? Gianna? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Jewel Patterson, and I'm here tonight on behalf of COPE, which is Congregations Organized for Prophetic Engagement, to stand in support of Indian Springs High School students and the change that they're seeking to make on their campus. In 2020, this county declared racism a public health crisis. Today, in 2023, students are doing all that they can to remind us that it is indeed a health crisis. How are we asking students to pay attention, get good grades, and succeed in school while adults are breeding a culture of ignorance on campuses and making students feel unsafe to learn and unsafe to be themselves? We hope that you've heard their voices tonight and plan to help them make a change for the better in their schools with the urgency that they need, the urgency that is certainly necessary in this incident. So thank you for your time. We hope to hear from you soon.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. And Ms. Gianna, thank you as well. Oh, my apologies. We do have a light on, so that usually is a question.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for coming out, young lady, and speaking to us. It does make a difference, and we'll follow up. Our goal is to make sure all those things you asked for, we take care of it, okay? Thank you.
Thank you again. Thank you, Vice President Tillman. All right, our next. Oh, that was her? Oh, okay. Spelled her name wrong. All righty, our next public comment is Ms. Fatima Cristina Adame. Welcome and good evening.
Just to make sure, that was Ms. Woods that just spoke, right? Okay. Thank you. Mhm.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Wyatt, community members. My name is Fatima Cristerna Adame with the California Charter Schools Association. Let me just begin by thanking the students who voiced their concerns. I think school safety is of utmost importance, and I couldn't tell you how important it has been to this district. Ourselves, charter schools, have witnessed that when there have been challenges at our schools. Chief Paulino and the district have stepped up to support our students. So we know how active you are in resolving student concerns. And so I know that the students will hear from you. And I'm very grateful for the relationship that we have, because you've always seen our students as your students, because they are, in fact, all of our students, right? Dr. Margaret Hill taught me that many moons ago. They are all our students, and which is why our concern continues to be with the SANDAB organization. The acronym stands for San Bernardino County District Advocates for Better Schools. Yesterday, I sent you all a very lengthy email with attachments to videos and documents. I don't want to reiterate what was in the email, but I definitely want to let the public know that this email was sent, because we continue to have concerns with the lack of input available to SANDABs, and we understand that the committee has no legal obligation to be Brown Act compliant or allow public input. However, their membership dues are provided by districts like this one using public dollars and meet at SB County educational facilities when not meeting virtually. So the fact that they continue to not allow the public to comment is of concern for sure, especially since they commit in their own bylaws to support every child. But there's also a lack of support for every child, and we sent you evidence of that with their support of legislation like AB 1505 and AB 3136, and we provided videos of SANDAB's committee chairs testifying in front of the Senate Ed Committee the Assembly Ed Committee in 2019. Now, of course, like you, I think that's a long time ago. Things have changed, and we really did hope that they had changed. But if you look at their own state legislative platform for this year, 22-23, you will find charters mentioned only 5 times in the entire document. All 5 times in reference to accountability. Not once are charter schools included in any other supportive language in the document, which again, they see us as adversaries, not as equals, teaching the same students we all have. Lastly, their lack of budget transparency. I was only able to go through 2 years of agendas and minutes from the past 2 years, and nowhere on there was there a budget attached to what the member dues are paying for, because it is of concern. So this organization is created of school district superintendents and board members like yourselves. First of all, the county superintendent of schools already has a monthly meeting with superintendents. So why they need an additional seat at this table, I don't understand. Second, school district board members like yourselves come to the table. The county superintendent of schools already represents all school districts. Now, if there's an opportunity to seek input on state legislation and federal legislation, we should be able to do that for everyone. We shouldn't be picking and choosing who gets to sit at the table and for what reasons. Now, when they go and lobby at the state, whether it's at the state or federal level, on whose dollars do they do that? Because even at $2,000, assuming every school district pays the $2,000 fees, which they don't because it's based on ADA, that's only about a $60,000 budget. So we know that even the committee itself cannot lobby with their own dollars. So who is subsidizing this if not the public? San Bernardino City Unified has always been extremely transparent, despite where I definitely have heard folks who don't think you're transparent enough. But let me tell you why we're before you every single year. Because you're one of the only school districts in this county who agendizes this item. Others just rubber stamp it, which is a real problem. That means there's a lack of transparency across districts in this county. However small the bill is, people should have an opportunity to see what public dollars are going for. And so we come before you because we are not allowed to lobby these concerns to SANDABs, even though we have expressed them both to the county superintendent, the county board of education, and SANDABs. But SANDABs does not allow us to publicly input in a way like this where they can hear from us. And when we do, we're only able to send in a letter, and there is no opportunity for us to express why supporting every child matters, right? From the smallest child to the biggest child. We never stop growing up. All of the adults here tonight were once children, and they needed support. And our children today will someday be adults, and they will not stop needing our support. So we really do encourage you, no matter how small this fee is, we do not want this going to to entities that do not operate with public transparency. Having said that, I really do encourage you to vote no on SANDABS. And please know this isn't an opportunity for us to want to sit at the table. We don't want to sit at a table where everyone doesn't have a voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All righty, our next public comment and speaker is Mr. Victor Sanchez. Welcome, Mr. Sanchez, and good evening.
Good afternoon, esteemed board. My name is Victor Sanchez. I'm here with my peer Lisa. We are
Lift that microphone up just a little. No, you can just.
Good afternoon,
just
esteemed
tilt
board.
it up.
Oh,
There you go.
right there.
There you go. Oop,
Excellent.
it dropped.
Excellent. Okay, good afternoon, esteemed board. My name is Victor Sanchez. I'm here with my peer Lisa. We are Cal State San Bernardino social work students. We are here to talk about a project that we are working on in the in our community action project. This project asks that we survey our community and address any needs that we may feel that they have. For our project, we chose Del Rosa Elementary School. Just some quick facts about Del Rosa Elementary School. The school services over 486 students. 91.6% of those students are socioeconomically disadvantaged. More so, 5.1% of students are actually homeless. Chronic absenteeism is overall 43.7%, and despite all of that, these kids continue to succeed year in and year out, continue to strive and make their teachers proud. We have been in close contact with Vice Principal Marlene Bush, who has been very enthusiastic about our support and stressed the desire to promote a positive culture and improve academic achievement within the school. We have also been in close contact with Community 5th District County Supervisor Joe Baca Jr., who is pointing us towards other vital resources that we hope to be able to provide the school. After reviewing our survey, we found that the students would benefit from us supporting the award ceremony. We feel that this would play a vital role in keeping students engaged and encourage their participation within the school. Mrs. Bush stressed that these students deserve better. Mrs. Bush has been working towards furnishing us with their EIN numbers so that we can reach out to other corporations such as Targets and stuff like that, which require the EIN number to provide things like donations, so that we can help make this year's award ceremony a little bit more special for the children. My peers and I are determined to provide resources that will help ensure that Del Rosa Elementary students are recognized for their continuous achievement and that they have the best awards ceremony that we can help provide. We are here today to show the school's needs and tell you about our plan. I am sure you are aware the school is understaffed, but the passion that the Vice Principal, Mrs. Bush, has for her students, despite their everyday struggles of keeping the school going, is amazing. The staff has only about 23 teachers, and they recently are experiencing high turnover. And as a result of a high turnover, they have very limited administration staff, and it's a daily barrier that these students find themselves encountering on a daily basis. The school has many other needs, such as field trips, toys, lawn beautification, and basic needs. But by us coming today, we hope not only with our help, Del Rosa will get much needed support they deserve, but also awareness of the students' hard work, that their continuous hard work year in and year out. It's a very special school with a very special staff, and we just want to provide whatever resources we can. Thank you so much, board.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Looks like we have a light here from Vice President Tillman.
Yeah, well, thank you all for your work that you do. We really do appreciate it.
I appreciate
You say
you,
you're
Vice
at Cal
President.
State San Bernardino right
Yes,
now?
Vice President
And
Tillman.
what's your major?
Major is social work, child welfare.
Okay. And when are you going to graduate?
Graduate, we're junior, so senior next year, sir.
Make sure you apply in our district. We would
Oh,
love to-
absolutely.
love
That's
to have
first
you.
CFS, that's first thing out of the, I'll be right there.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, and go Yotes. All righty, I think that's it for public comments. We'll move on to virtual comments, Ms. Cunningham, is that correct? All right, let's go ahead with our next comments. Our first virtual comment, please.
Okay, the first one we have is Ray Wall. If you're available, please unmute.
Good evening, board. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
This is Ray Wool. My students and parents know me as Mr. Dell, and I want to say hi to you, the board, Dr. Wyatt, and Vice President Tillman, Administrator in charge, Ms. Applegate. I just wanted to share with you a couple of things. One is I grew up in San Bernardino. I attended Belvedere, Del Rosa, Serrano, and San G. I graduated from San G. I began my career actually as a rec aide at Belvedere Elementary, and then became a teacher at Anderson School, where I worked in J2 and J3. I'm sure Ms. Grande is familiar with those classrooms. After working at Anderson, I realized I wanted to really work with the young special ed kids and give them a good start to their careers and a good start for parents, because in preschool special ed at Harmon, which is where I've been for the last 26 years, we are the first experience for these young kids, and also for the parents, their first experience with the district, and make that connection and give them a great experience. And I wanted to say thank you, is one of the reasons I got on here. Dr. Sandra Rodriguez has made several visits to our school, and when she heard that Harmon has a very small budget and we never get new things or new furniture, we literally get hand-me-downs from other programs, she helped us obtain for every classroom pieces of furniture so that we could have some new things and make our classrooms look nice. So I wanted to thank her for that. Second, I wanted to thank our administrators, Miss Megan Silva and Miss Colleen Maroney. They helped us get our first new computers 2 years ago. We had never had a new computer. We always had to go get the leftovers that were turned in from other schools. And they got us our first new computers. And also I want to thank you, board, and thank the administrators. One of the hardest things in education is constant change in administration. And we've been able to build a really good PLC at Harmon, thanks to having Miss Silva and Miss Maroney be constant there for 4 years. That's the first time that's happened. We usually have a new person every other year. And so we've been able to really build a good program, and that's been really advantageous. We have really worked hard to build a good program and really see good things happen. So I wanted to thank them. And the one thing I wanted to ask you all is to please come visit Harmon. Not a lot of people know about Harmon School. It's a children's development center, and we have regular preschool, special ed preschool, special ed TK and K, and general ed kindergarten classes. And we work together and have been building a relationship with Kendall Elementary and with Harmon. And I would just love for you to come see it and come see our facilities. Come see our indoor playground where kids learn to walk and play. Come see our sensory room where children with disabilities and those with autism, really, it's amazing. One of our teachers, Chris White, has built that sensory room and keeps working on it. And also come see our therapy pool where kids learn water safety, then learn to talk and learn to move and get out of their wheelchairs and be able to be in a therapy pool. So I just would invite you all to come see it, because I know a lot of people haven't, and you can talk to our administrators and learn about our program and see what kind of things we need. And the last thing I wanted to ask of you is, as I said, Harmon doesn't have much of a budget, and I've mentioned it to Dr. Rodriguez, and she said we're coming up, but I just wanted to let you all know too, many times when there's modifications, our school is skipped, or people don't know about it. Kendall gets done, or Carmack, and Harmon doesn't, but we could really use new carpet. There's been some leaks, plus our carpet is 15 to 20 years old, and our little special ed kids climb, crawl on the carpet, play on the carpet, and are on the carpet, and we could really use new carpet. And I know we're coming up, but the sooner we get it, it would really look a lot nicer than the carpet that's almost 20 years old. So that was it, and I want to thank you all.
All right, Mr. Wall, thank you for your comments. We do have a question for you from Vice President Tillman.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you, number one, for all your work that you do in our district. We really do appreciate it. And thank you for bringing to our attention some of the needs there. I know Mr. Islam on the carpet, maybe we can take a look and make sure that kind of stuff gets done. Right now is the best time for us to do those type of things because we have some one-time money to get those things done. And if there's other sites that aren't getting new computers, we need to make sure we find out what that is, who they are too, Mr. Islam.
Yes, Mr. Tillman, I just had a discussion with my team today. We are building a fund to take care of those issues at the school side, not only corporate and other need to keep our school clean and healthy environment for our students.
Up to date. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And thank you, Dale.
All right, Mr. Waldale, we have another question, comment from Ms. Marianne Grande.
I too am very familiar with J2 and J3. Those are actually my classrooms also. So I honor you, and I know how you feel exactly. And it's one thing we learned to be very good at when on the few occasions over the years when we had board members come in. And specifically, I remember Miss Abigail Medina when she came in, and she has this thing she says when she meets a new teacher, and she says, "Hello, how are you? Do you have everything you need?" And so I learned to speak really fast. So I'm really happy about that. So I agree with you. I think we need to go and visit, and hopefully we can set something up and visit not just you, but there's a couple of other places that I know specifically of places with many special ed teachers that feel undersung. I would like to visit. So I can promise
Thank you so much.
me. Thank you.
All right, and colleagues, just again, we want to refrain from a dialogue, but please ask questions if possible. Mr. Zales Medina.
This is more towards just to kind of piggyback with what Mr. Tillman just mentioned and looking at that. But there's also like ROP programs or other not ROP, but other programs that have not received funds. So that'll just add to it in looking at those resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zales Medina. Ms. Ceballos?
No, I just want to say thank you for coming up and sharing with us. I'm actually I visited this campus. I have lived in San Marino my entire life and didn't know about this particular site until a few years ago when I started my program as a school psychologist. I went to visit as a practicum student, and it's actually a really neat little spot over there. And I really think the work that you guys do, because oftentimes, I mean, with any student, but especially with students with special education needs, the sooner you intervene, and provide those supports, the better outcomes they'll have later in life. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you, and thanks for coming and sharing and letting us know what you need.
Thank you, Ms. Ceballos. Mr. Husky?
I also want to give my thanks, Mr. Wall. It's been a long time since I've been over there. I have visited the school previously, but it's time I get back. I just want to make sure that we are ensuring that some of our most vulnerable and our most special students, that they are getting what they need to succeed. If we are For Every Child, we need to make sure that all of our campuses have adequate resources and adequate supplies and everything for learning. So I'm not, I want to make sure that they get everything they need, especially those young children, so that they can maximize their success. So I thank you, Mr. Islam, for taking a look at that, and hopefully we can get an update on where we are, particularly with this school.
Thank you, Mr. Husky. And then Mr. Dale, while you're on here, I do have a question for Mr. Islam in regards to our technology. And I imagine we have, and this is so folks that are watching as well as our employees, a refresh plan for our technology. And because when I hear classrooms or teachers ask for computers, we should have at least, I hope, a logical answer in regards to the timeline refresh plan. And this happens to me as well, so I just want to say that. And it is usually a concern or issue, but I don't know if we have one, and if we do, that would be great to kind of maybe get a little more information about it at a later time. And if we don't, then we should have one. How's that?
Thank you, Dr. White. This is a very good question that you're asking me to give you an update to the board. We are monitor the maintenance of every year, how many we need to replace, how many we need to upgrade, the district-wide. I'd like to bring an update status to the board. Now on Friday, I'd like to give you the very thorough revised update plan of where we are, where we're going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Islam. That would
Thank
be
you.
great for us to hear and then also to share with the public as well. Thank you. Vice President Tillman.
Just for clarification, Mr. Islam, the board did give direction for the one-time money to ensure that no systems are older than 5 years old.
You're correct. We are moving forward with those directions the board gave us, and no, it is not. We are working on it, and I
Thank you.
also can give update on that where we are.
Thank you very
now.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Islam. Thank you, Vice President Tillman. And thank you,
I
Mr.
had
Dell.
one more question, Dr. Wyatt. I just wanted to make sure too that we're on a modification list, because whenever that list is put out for schools that are getting modified, Harmon's never on it.
You mean modernization, right?
Modernization, that's what I mean.
All right,
Yes,
and
we'll
then
look into it.
we could find out about that. There's usually a 10, 20, and 30-year school list. And again, Mr. Islam could give us an update on a Friday update as well. Thank you for bringing that to our attention,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Dell. Have a great evening.
You too.
All right, thanks, sir. All right, Ms. Cunningham, next comment.
Okay, our next speaker is Rita Fernandez-Loof. If you're available, please unmute.
Good evening, board member, Ms. Rita Fernandez-Loof. Good to see you. And we can't see you, by the way, just so you know.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Rita Fernandez-Loof, and I'm a member of the San Bernardino County Board of Education, representing over 494,000 residents in Area B, which includes the communities of Rancho Cucamonga, Upland, Ontario, Montclair, Mount Baldy, and portions of Fontana. I would like to express my concerns with the San Bernardino Advocates for Better Schools, SANDADS. During county board meetings, I have expressed my community's concerns with the group. I've opposed the SANDAPS budget, part of which is being funded by the San Bernardino County Board of Education. And I've repeatedly asked for information about SANDABS and can never get a straight answer on exactly what type of organization they are. They're not a 501c3, C4, C6, not a joint powers authority. They don't appear to be registered as a political action committee, and their bylaws seem to be some sort of agreement between governmental agencies. But they maintain a web presence through the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. What we do know is that SANDABS is extremely non-transparent. They do not allow the public to make comments, and they take positions that are contrary to students and parents in the community. And oftentimes they are not in line with the position of local school boards. Despite being one funding mechanism for SANDABS, county board members are currently not members of the organization. Their bylaws state that the lobbyist reports directly to the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. I've heard from many parents of special education students in the county who have told me stories about the vexatious litigation their children have been subjected to at the hands of attorneys representing the special education local plan areas, specifically in the West End. The West End SELPA is currently on the SANDAP Executive Committee. SANDAP supports legislative positions to add more funding to the broken SELPA system and against special education students. So I urge you to please not join with this organization, as I don't believe that they share your views on transparency with the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fernandez-Loof. All righty, our next virtual comment, please, Ms. Cunningham.
Our next speaker is M. Arias. If you're available, please unmute.
Yes, I'm
Good
here.
evening and
Good
welcome, Ms.
afternoon.
Arias.
Good evening, board members and President Dr. Wyatt. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mrs. Arias. I am the founder of the YouTube movement that focuses on special education and anything and everything that has to do with special needs children. First and foremost, I'm here to advocate for special needs children. I ask you to please ensure that they always have all the necessary items to assist their learning. I ask you to please ensure the federal and state laws are always followed and ensure their IEPs are also followed as well. I am here, however, to speak in regards to SANDABs. Our community members have tried multiple times to participate at such organization meetings, and we've been denied access. We've been trying to let them know that we are interested to know what their policies are, what they're doing, and what they're voting on, and how their agency is impacting our children and their education. However, they have denied us to be able to participate by providing public comment. I believe this is wrong and it's a violation of the Brown Act. Some of our members have even asked for public records to learn what they do and what they're doing behind the curtains, and they have been denied all these documents. So I urge you to please vote no on any membership for SANDABs. This entity is a front form superintendent, Mr. Ted Alejandre. He uses SANDABs to hide behind it and to avoid accountability. Mr. Alejandro doesn't like to be upfront and open. He blocked some of our members when we started asking questions about SANDABs and their performance. Luckily, there's a state case that ensured that public had a right to participate, and he was forced to unblock us. So again, we ask you to please ensure you vote no on any type of membership on SANDABs. And we also ask you to support our movement, the YouTube movement, which focuses on special education, transparency, accountability, and to ensure that all children with special needs receive an appropriate education. Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comments through this meeting, as this allows many parents within the San Bernardino area to participate. Thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Ms. Arias. You do the same. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is listed as parent. If you're available, please unmute now.
Welcome and good evening, parent.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good evening.
Hello, board members. I'm a parent at George Brown Elementary. I'm referring to the last meeting on March 7th against Senora Trujillo. She claims she abruptly left. That's funny. She went around telling others that she was going to become a VP admin at another school, giving her current class and past classes her personal phone number. Now she wants to play victim with fake crime. She is a dual emergent Spanish teacher. Why would she teach more Black history? Why teach the children about BLM? Why teach her fifth grade classes to be defiant, disrespectful, and radical to the principal, rec aides, and other staff? She would say, I'm your teacher. They are not. She wanted to give orders. If you look up reports, she is a bully. When she had her classes online during the pandemic, she bullied many parents. She gave her classes choices. If they didn't choose, she would threaten how much it would hurt their grades or her feelings. She enjoys sexualizing her classes with performances during Christmas time, doing sexual Zumba dances to Mariah Carey. All I want for Christmas is you. She is allowed to do that for many years. She encourages her classes to be any gender. Her last school year, she encouraged a student being trans. When she says she loves her students, she sure does. If you were to see how she hugs her students with these full-on hugs, that's creepy for a teacher. Very inappropriate. Some of you guys won't care because you want more of the LGBTQ++ agendas in school and are anti-American. Enjoy the disrespect for not standing for the U.S. flag. I bet if it was a BML flag or pride flag, you guys would be content with it, right? Because it's teaching having rights. She has been gone for months. How is it that her class that she no longer teaches writes letters for the board meeting? The parents that defended her, you can clearly hear that they were conditioned and coached by her, that she said to say that, because they didn't make any sense. She is a groomer and enjoys to manipulate these young minds, and she needs to stay clear of young children. She should have never been a teacher, let alone with younger students. She should have been gone a long time ago. The last principal didn't care and let her do whatever she wanted. So that's why she has a big problem with this new one. Let's remember, these are elementary age children, not college students, who she is embracing in a manner that makes some children uncomfortable. If teachers can't talk about religion to children, then let's keep the sexual agendas out of the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Negrete. If you're available, please unmute.
Good evening, Ms. Negrete. Welcome.
Good evening, board members. I have a question regarding the contract for Peggy Olcott. It states that she is going to be providing services, but I'm yet to question, why would our most qualified staff still need to have somebody coaching them if that's, what the intention of the $7,000 is for? Additionally, agenda item 11.13, which is $400,000 for special education. Could anyone provide any information, whether classified staff or any of the certificated staff that San Bernardino currently has, are they not able to provide the services that the contract for Lundy for $400,000 will be providing? If that is the reason for contracting outside of the district. If not, I think it would be wise to engage the unions and see how that can be accommodated with the staff that's available. And a concern that I have, and I would like to know if maybe any policy with the school district has changed, and if the policy has changed where parents made aware of it. During the most recent city council meeting, Taryn Stone, who is the director for the BIP program, who has been having contracts with the school district under Young Visionaries, he went to the city council meeting, and several of the people that worked for him, and all have said that they recently came out of jail. Some of them were serving lifelong sentences. They state that they are engaging high schoolers because they are impressionable and are making a difference with the grades and attendance. As a parent, I am concerned because we all know that, yes, children are impressionable, but do you really want anyone on probation to be engaging the youth? And if they are engaging the youth, are they engaging the youth on school campuses? That also raises another question, because he does have a contract with the school district under Young Visionaries, but at the city council, he spoke about his BIP program. How do we know which service is paying for what? Or is this just a 2-for-1 for him, where he gets to be paid from the city and the school district for providing a service from the same staff and now engaging the youth on school campuses? As far as I know, San Bernardino City Unified has the strict guidelines on doing backgrounds for their employees. This is a third vendor, so who then makes the decisions of who's going to be engaging children? Because ultimately, if they are engaging children, anything that may or may not happen falls on the district. I would advise you to please seek out legal counsel and see whether or not this last contract that you gave to Taryn Stone can be terminated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Negrete. And then Ms. Applegate, our AAC, does have a comment for you.
Yes, we will look into the other matters and get back to you. And on the matter of the $400,000, that is a non-public school placement for our special education students.
Ms. Applegate, The information that I provided regarding who is engaging with this Felons Engaging the Youth, you could see that at the city council meeting. It's all public. They all spoke and they all said that they're engaging the youth.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Negretti. We will have somebody get back with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay, our next speaker is Gil Navarro. If you're available, please unmute.
Good evening, Ms. Navarro. How are you?
Hey, good evening, board president, board members, staff. My name is Gil Navarro. Locally, I'm referred to as an education advocate, but the federal regulations refer to me as a non-attorney representative. But I'm here to talk against the district approving any agreement with Sandabs. Let me tell you about Sandabs. It's a secret society enticing school districts to provide their members to be on this organization that does not allow any public input, is not a Brown Act meeting open to any scrutiny, or even to be able to ask for request information. It's not a business, it's not a nonprofit. I'm in the process of filing a complaint with the Fair Political Practice Commission because Sandabs raises political funding, which is, you know, as candidates, when you run for office, you have to have a PAC. It's open to the public, so the public knows where you're getting your money from and how you're spending it. So Sandabs should be a PAC, and they're hiding it through this other way of conducting their business. And it's good, in my opinion, it's illegal, and you need to be careful, whether it's your district or other districts, to be affiliated with this organization. It's a bad situation. And as you know, if you read through their paperwork on their organization, they're all political. When you spend money political, opposing legislation, supporting legislation, that's a PAC, that's a political action committee. They're supposed to be formed and registered with Sacramento with a Fair Political Practice Commission. And they're not, purposely, so nobody really knows what they're doing. And so please, to protect your education dollars, please do not spend 5 cents on this organization or become affiliated with it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. Have a good evening.
Our next speaker is M. Barabino. If you're available, please unmute.
Welcome.
I need help. Only speak Spanish.
Okay, we need a translator, please. Thank you.
Yes, I'm here. Aquí estoy. Puede hablar.
Buenas tardes, miembros del board.
Good afternoon, board members.
Presidente Wyatt.
President Wyatt.
Soy Elena Barabino. Estoy aquí para abogar por nuestros estudiantes.
I am here to advocate for our students.
Les pido, por favor, voten no a la membresía de Sandabs.
I ask for you guys to please vote more for the membership.
Vote no on the Sandabs
No,
membership.
no a la,
To
no
vote
a la
no more
membresía
for the
de
membership.
Sandabs.
Sorry. Disculpe, ¿puede repetir lo que dijo?
Oh. Les pido, por favor, voten no a la membresía de Sandabs.
I ask for everybody to please vote no to the legislation of the Sandabs,
No a la membresía de Sandabs.
to the membership, for the membership of the Sandabs, to please vote no.
Yo he querido participar en sus juntas de stand-up, pero no me permite al público en general a participar.
I would like to I have tried to participate to your meetings, but I'm not able to participate in the meetings.
Yo veo el stand-up como un escondite del señor Alejandré, que usa ese grupo para manipular y hacer cambios en educación.
No la escuché muy bien. ¿Puede repetir esa frase, por favor?
Yo veo el stand-up como un escondite del señor Alejandré, que usa ese grupo para manipular y hacer cambios en educación.
I would like Mr. Alexander to change our education, group education.
Yo he pedido documentos y registros bajo la Ley de Registros Públicos de California o CPRA y me han negado los documentos con excusas.
Disculpe, ¿la puede repetir lo que acaba de decir?
Yo he pedido documentos del registro bajo la Ley de Registros Públicos de California o CPRA.
I have asked the members of the TPRA, the legislators.
Excuse me, allow me to assist you a little bit, because I know there's some terminology that might be a little foreign. What she is saying is that she has asked SANDAB under a Public Records Act for certain documents that they have not provided.
Okay, thank you.
Obviamente, y me han negado los documentos con excusas.
And they have denied the documents with excuses.
Obviamente, para no hacerme saber las cosas desconocidas e indebidas que hacen.
Obviously, so I don't know about the things that are done that are illegal or that are not supposed to be done.
Les pido voten no a stand-up.
I ask for you to vote no to the stand-ups.
Ellos no son pro estudiantes, todo lo contrario.
They are not pro students, to the contrary.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, excuse me. We have a question from Ms. Ceballos? Or a statement?
Just a quick statement. Thank you, Ms. Applegate, for jumping in. And thank you to our translators back there. I know it was really hard to hear. I was struggling myself, so nothing that you did wrong.
Thank
you so much.
It was very hard to understand. That's why I was having a hard time
I know.
because I couldn't hear what she was saying. So thank you for your help.
No, of course.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Ms. Cunningham, any others?
Yes, our next speaker is M. Rincon. If you're available, please unmute.
Good evening and welcome.
Bienvenido, buenas tardes.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hello, good afternoon.
Estimado presidente de la Junta, Dr. Scott Wade.
Dear meeting President Dr. Scott Wade.
Distinguidos miembros de la Junta.
Distinguished members of the meeting.
Mi nombre es Marta Rincón.
My name is Marta Rincon.
Estoy aquí solicitando su apoyo
I'm here asking for your support
para cada estudiante
for each student
y vote no en el punto 11.3,
and vote no on point 11.3
la membresía de SANDAP.
to the membership of SANDAPS.
Como miembro de la comunidad,
As a member of the community,
hemos compartido nuestras preocupaciones constantes
we have shared our constant worries
con respecto a SANDAP.
in respect to SANDAPS.
Hemos expresado nuestras preocupaciones con el superintendente del condado,
We have also shared our concerns with the superintendent of the county.
expresaríamos esas preocupaciones directamente con SANDAPS
We would express those concerns directly with SANDAPS
si permitieran la opinión del público,
if
pero no
the,
lo hacen.
if the public opinion would be allowed, but it's not allowed.
Podríamos compartir nuestras preocupaciones directamente con los miembros de SANDAPS
We would also share our concerns directly with the members of SANDAPS
o miembros potenciales.
or potential members.
Como usted es el único conducto que tenemos,
Since you are the only conduit that we have
el público para expresar nuestras preocupaciones
for the public to express our concerns
con el comité,
with the committee,
nuestra primera preocupación es la falta de aportes públicos.
our first concern is the lack of public support
de las partes interesadas.
of the parties that are interested.
En segundo lugar,
Second,
su falta de apoyo a todos los niños como se identifica en sus estatutos
the lack of support of all children that identifies them as their statute.
y por último,
And last,
la falta de transparencia de las cuotas de membresía.
the lack of transparency of the membership quotes.
Continúe apoyando a todos los estudiantes y vote no a la membresía de SANDAP.
Continue supporting every student and vote no to the membership of SANDAPS.
Muchas gracias por permitirme participar.
Thank you very much for permitting me to participate.
Que pasen muy buena noche.
And have a good night.
Thank you, and you have a good evening as well.
Muchas gracias. Usted también tenga una buena noche.
Okay, and our last public comment is from I. Rios. If you're available, please unmute.
Good evening and welcome.
Buenas tardes,
Good afternoon,
miembros del board.
board members.
Les pido que continúen apoyando a los estudiantes
I
y
ask that,
voten no
I ask that you keep supporting our students and vote no
a la membresía de SANDAPS.
to the stand-ups membership.
Permitan al público participar.
Allow the public to participate.
Queremos transparencia en todas las áreas
We want transparency in all areas.
y también queremos que nos sigan proveyendo la traducción al español.
And we also would like for you to keep providing the translation to Spanish.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and have a good evening.
And that's it for public comments.
All righty. Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. I got a little bit of delay on my mic, so I apologize. We will move on to 5.0, which is closed session. 5.1, closed session public comments. This is a time that members of the public will be provided an opportunity to directly address the board about any item described under this closed session. Comments are limited to 5 minutes or less. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
We do not? All right, then we'll go ahead and convene the closed session and report out when we come back. Alrighty. Oh. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, folks, we're coming back from closed session. We have a few things to report out on. We'll start with 6.1, approval of middle school principal. Oops, sorry. I'm hoping it'll come up on my screen. All right, be it resolved that the Board of Education approved the appointment of following employee, Kathy Atencio, middle school principal, Rodriguez Prep Academy, effective date, work year, and salary to be determined, funding source 035.
So moved.
It's been moved by Vice President Tillman, second by Ms. Chahusky. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. Ms. Atencio, congratulations. I believe you are here this evening, so we want you to please stand and be recognized. Congratulations. You know, it's an outstanding school with outstanding leadership, so we're looking forward to many, many more excellent results with our students and staff. Well done. All righty, approval of elementary school vice principal, 6.2. Be it resolved, the Board of Education approved the appointment of the following employee, Aaron Keith Oliver Rojas, elementary school vice principal, Barton Elementary, effective date, work year, and salary to be determined, funding source 419.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it was moved by Vice President Tillman, seconded by Ms. Alexander. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. If Mr. Oliver Rojas is here, congratulations. I don't know if he's here in person, but if you're watching on screen out there in virtual land, congratulations. Looking forward to you and joining our team. We'll move on to 6.3, approval of middle school vice principal. Be it resolved, the Board of Education approved the appointment of the following employee, Giancarlo Botello, I believe is it, middle school vice principal, ML King Middle School, effective date, work year, and salary to be determined, funding source 035.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it was moved by Vice President Tillman. It did sound like Ms. Alexander got in there again. Seconded by Ms. Alexander. Any discussion? All right, very good. Let's vote. All right, motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Botello. I don't know if you're here. It doesn't look like it. But again, if you're out there in virtual land, congratulations. And again, welcome on to the team. And we appreciate you being our new middle school vice principal. All right, 6.4, approval of interim chief communications and community engagement officer. Be it resolved, the Board of Education approved appointment of the following employee, Linda Bardier, interim chief communications and community engagement officer, effective date, work and year, and salary to be determined.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it was moved by Vice President Tillman, second by Ms. Ceballos. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. Congratulations, Ms. Badir. Look forward to seeing you again, and welcome back. All right, we'll move on to 6.5, expulsion of students. Let me see. Be resolved, the Board of Education accepts and adopts the recommendation and findings of the hearing panel based on a review of the panel's findings of facts and recommendations and order expulsion of the following students with the identification numbers as listed below in accordance with the board rules and regulations and in compliance with Education Code Section 48900.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Ms. Chahusky, second by Vice President Tillman. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. Moving on to 6.6. Be resolved, the Board of Education accepts and adopts the recommendation and findings of facts of positive development and orders the suspension or expulsion of the following students with identification numbers as listed below in accordance with the board rules and regulations in compliance with Education Code Section 48900.
Moved.
Second.
It was moved by Ms. Chahusky, seconded by Vice President Tillman. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. Moving on to 6.7. Be resolved, the Board of Education accepts the following students were recommended for expulsion, but expulsion is deemed inappropriate based on due process errors, insufficient evidence, and/or the availability of other means of correction in compliance with the Education Code Section 48900. Therefore, although they are recommended for expulsion, expulsion is not granted.
Moved.
Second.
It was moved by Board Member Mr. Husky, second by Vice President Tillman. Any discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to 6.8. Be resolved, the Board of Education authorize expulsion and/or youth court modification, expungement, or rescinding of the following students with the identification numbers as indicated below to schools of the San Diego City Unified School District in accordance with the board rules and regulations and in compliance with Education Code Section 48900.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's moved by Mr. Husky, second by Vice President Tillman. Any discussion? And say, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to 6.9, other closed session action. Be it resolved, the Board of Education accepts the notice of recommendation for disciplinary action and statement of charges to dismiss the following classified employee from his or her employment with the district, HR class -22-23-05-ER.
Moved.
Second.
All right, it was motioned by Vice President Tillman, I believe seconded by Ms. Ceballos. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, let's go ahead and vote. Okay, motion carries. Move on to 8.0. Oh, I'm sorry, 7.0, reports by union organizations. 7.1, San Diego Teachers Association.
No report.
All right, thank you very much. 7.2, California School Employees Association.
Yes, we do have one.
Looks like Mrs. Brown. Welcome, Ms. Brown. And good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, board members and President Dr. Wyatt. My name is Kim Brown, and I'm the
Chapter 183 Site Rep Coordinator. The district and CSEA is moving closer in negotiation and completing the MOU for a late start. I would like to thank the custodians, M&O, and the facilities for their hard work and dedication during the storm. I also want to tell the members to stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. We appreciate your report and have a good evening. All righty, 7.3, Communication Workers of America.
Report.
No report. Thank you very much. 7.4, Samuel School Police Officers Association.
No report.
All right, thank you very much. No report. Moving on to 8.0, Board Policies and Bylaws discussion, first reading. 8.1, new Board Policy 3525.21, and that is in regards to drones. All right, Board, we're supposed to review the policy as reviewed by the Policy Subcommittee. If revisions are required, they'll be made, submitted for final Board approval at an upcoming Board meeting. No changes are required, and the Board is in agreement. Board Policy 3525.21, UAS drones can be adopted without a second reading. Mr. Vice President Tillman.
So I know this is a new policy, but I'm assuming we have drones already?
I would have to defer to one of our executive cabinet members. I see Mr. Vittier moving forward. All right, Mr. Vittier, welcome and good evening. Moseying right along.
Good evening. Yes, Vice President Tillman, we do. And there's a substantial desire for increased purchases, especially at our school sites through STEAM activities. And so we're looking at this being a timely opportunity to make sure that we have good policy in front of it.
And I know there's a training required now, right? Is it for certain types of drones?
Anything under 55 pounds, which is a majority of them, and used for business, educational type purposes, requires a Part 107 license through the FAA, or you have to fly under direct supervision of somebody. So our students could fly; they would just have to be under immediate supervision of a pilot.
You said under 55 pounds need the. So what about over?
I'm sorry, over.
That's what I thought.
Over, yeah. Sorry
so
about that.
How about the ones that are under?
They're considered recreational, and they wouldn't require the FAA license.
Because most of the ones you see at the games are under 55 pounds. So if we had 30 drones in the sky at a football game, you can't say anything?
We can, yeah, you absolutely can. So you just have to look at, and part of this policy says what's permissible over our schools. And so we would have forms that would have to be filled out. We had an incident at Cajon High School during graduation last year where we had to speak to a gentleman about the drone he was operating as well.
That is in here then?
Correct.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Vice President Tillman. Ms. Alexander.
My question is in reference to, I think it's an excellent idea. It's just how do we make it equitable for all the schools? And then are we looking for certain age groups that would have access to these drones?
Yeah, so I do have, on the educational side of the house, there are a few teachers at our high schools that are looking to start clubs and programs with them. You know, we want to make it accessible to all of our kiddos as soon as they're able to. I think the ability for us to get adults trained as pilots extends the opportunity for our students to also be able to fly under supervision. So,
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Vice President
I
Tillman.
also think it's important, though. I know when I worked at the county, we bought a big one with super high def camera. Actually, the communications folks wanted to use it, but then that's when the training part came out of it. But I always had a concern about where is it stored? Is somebody using it on weekends? So we need to make sure we have some procedures in place to know where they're stored at, and because they could be used for some inappropriate things too.
Sure.
So when they're not being used for regular school stuff, there needs to be some type of protocol in terms of where it's stored and secured at. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Tillman. Ms. Alexander.
So I just want to expound on what I was asking. So drones are I mean, they're of today. I mean, it's not something that's uncommon. I think it's excellent for our students. It's excellent for our STEM program. But I want to make sure if we are going to consider the usage and the whole process, maybe it's an opportunity to include it in our Pathways program, but to make sure, I want to use that word, equitable, because the idea of drones, sometimes it means that it might be costly. Now they're pretty economical, but I want to make sure that we take care of everybody and from an educational standpoint, and maybe create some standards around who's going to be able to be a part of this from an educational standpoint.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Any other comments or concerns on that? And I would agree with my colleagues. You know, drones obviously are here to stay, and I am glad that we have a board policy on it, and you know, maybe even in the future, a small presentation on
That'd be great.
you know, our classes, our certifications, safety, because we saw one recently at a groundbreaking, which was pretty cool. But and then, like I said, a good example, one at a graduation, somebody wanting to fly one, and
Right
to me
over
that
a
would
crowd,
be something
yeah.
I would like to do too if my son or daughter was graduating again, which will be happening soon. Fly a little drone over and then get in trouble, right? So we need to know better than that. And so thank you for the policy. I guess the question to the board is are we going to accept it on the first draft, or do we want it to go back for revisions and a review?
What are the recommendations that we have for revisions and reviews? Otherwise,
I don't see any, but
yeah. So if there's none,
we'll
then
go
we
ahead
can
and
just
adopt
move,
it.
yeah.
So do we have to take action on that, I assume?
So moved.
Second.
Or who was the second? Was that Ms. Alexander? Oh, all right, getting good down there. No, we're going to be adopting. So the motion was to adopt.
Move to adopt.
Okay, thank you, Vice President Tillman. And so we will need a second on that. We do have it to adopt as drafted.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. We need a little bit more clarity, that's all. All right, no more discussion. Let's go ahead and vote. They're already ready for us. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to 8.2, Board Policy 5020, Parent Rights and Responsibilities. Board will review the revisions to Board Policy 5020, Parents' Rights and Responsibilities as reviewed by the Policy Subcommittee. This was reviewed by the PSC Policy Subcommittee under BP 6020. Parent involvements to BP 5020. All changes agreed upon by the PSC are reflected in Board Policy 5020. If additional revisions are required, they'll be made and submitted for final board approval at an upcoming board meeting. If no changes are required and the board is in agreement with Board Policy 5020, Parents' Rights and Responsibilities can be adopted without a second reading. Note, changes in red are changes by staff, changes in green are additions made by the Policy Subcommittee. Any discussion on this item? There's quite a bit of new language in there, just so you know, and some language in there as well from the Policy Subcommittee. So we have input from both staff and board members.
I move to support or vote yes to adopt.
Right. So we had a motion by Board Member Rosales Medina to adopt as drafted, seconded by Ms. Ceballos. Any further discussion?
That was Ms. Chahusky, second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was Ms. Ceballos. I'm going to have to get a little better on the voices on my left ear. So I'll recant that. It was seconded by Ms. Chahusky. Any discussion, further discussion or questions? And I will just make a comment that I really do appreciate this policy. This puts a sense of urgency to have our IEPs translated no later than 15 school days. I'm hoping the public's listening to that because that has been asked of us for probably about the last 5 to 6 years that I can remember. So it has finally come to policy.
So I also want to make a comment. I was going to wait for us to vote on it.
Okay. Yeah, we haven't voted on it yet,
Hasn't
so
passed.
it's not official yet.
But likewise, I want to.
This is discussion time, though.
I want to say thank you because you
Right.
know it's been something that I have been really asking for just because it is really important, and to see it here before us in policy, it 15 days to be translated is what our district's committing to. So I really appreciate their efforts.
That is huge. I'll be honest, that's quite progressive on this. I'm not challenging other districts, but it'd be interesting to see how many districts out there have a similar policy, because I know for myself, I work within this realm, and the Ed Code is very, very lax, is the word I will use, in regards to timelines. So I'd like to compliment our district and our board and those that worked on this policy to actually commit to a timeline that our parents can now look at. So great job.
No, absolutely. There's no federal or state
There
law
is not.
that includes a timeline. So we are, adopting this in our policy. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this is really good stuff. And to our parents that have advocated for this, congratulations to you too for the support that you've given us. So let's go ahead and vote. This is historic. Well, it is. Sorry, I'm on the memo page. I didn't see the voting. Might want to switch screens. So we're waiting on me.
Ms. Ceballos?
I was on the wrong page.
We're on screen as well. Yeah,
I was
too.
still admiring the policy.
Me too. I was like, where's the yay or nay on there? But it was on the other screen. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. We were filled with excitement and joy. Motion carries, and I do want to comment on this one. Congratulations to everyone involved in this. But I will also add that we need to make sure that our staff also have the support to be able to get this policy done. Because that is a high demand, a high task, a high order from us as a board. So we need to make sure that we support our staff to get this done in regards to capacity as well. So congratulations. We'll move on to 9.0, 9.1, board members. And we will be starting to my left and then going back over to Ms. Alexander. But our first board member will be Ms. Chahusky. Ms. Chahusky.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. It's been a wonderful 2 weeks since we last met. We've had a lot of activity. One of the first things I wanted to talk about was a number of us were at the San Gorgonio High School groundbreaking for their culinary center and their pool. And I am so excited about what that is going to look like. Thank you, Mr. Precy. It's going to be state of the art and amazing. So I'm really excited. I can't wait to see the final product and have them have a cook-off that we can go and observe the Food Channel. We also went to the Arrowhead United Way women's luncheon, which was well attended at ThinkWise, hosted by ThinkWise, and that was also a really great event. Congratulations to Middle College High School and Mr. Espinoza. They had their 10-year anniversary celebration, and it was really exciting. And they planted a time capsule, and in that time capsule, they're going to open that in the next 10 years. So hopefully I'm still around, and we'll get to visit when they do that. The other thing that I attended was the Read Across America at Vermont Elementary School. And that was just so much fun. I read Where the Wild Things Are with 2 third grade classes and a first grade class. And we had such a good time. It was a rainy day. And so I was really nervous because of rainy days and little kids usually means lots of wiggling. So Where the Wild Things Are was perfect because I could get them roaring their terrible roars and gnashing their terrible teeth. And then I can't remember how we got on it, but in the other third grade class, we got on to spelling Mississippi. So I did the old Red Foley song, the M-I, crooked letter I, crooked letter I, and had them dancing so they could go, because they were more wiggly than the first class. And we just, oh my gosh, it just did my little teacher heart so much good. And I just had so much fun because they were just adorable. And thank you to all of the different community partners that were there. Supervisor Baca was there, and Tom Mabry from the Sheriff's Department was there, and just so many people. I'm sorry I can't remember everybody that I saw, but it was really exciting. I was surprised, Miss Abelis Grande, that you barely mentioned it in your inspiration today, because this morning I heard that today is National Puppetry Day. And so I automatically thought of you I didn't even know there was a National Puppetry Day, but I thought about you and your wonderful puppetry, and I hope someday when we're at a school site together, I get to see you doing your puppets in there.
Don't encourage her right now.
No, I said at a school
Let's-
site. I said at a school site. Unfortunately, I again have to end on a sad note. One of our teachers from Cajon High School, she's a special education teacher. Her name is Brandy Bartley, and she was on vacation with some of our other folks from our district, and unfortunately, she passed away suddenly while she was on vacation. She's young, and it's just devastating, just absolutely devastating. So I'm hoping that, that we can close.
Yeah,
in her
we
honor,
did plan
'cause
on
it's,
that, but thank you for
and
letting
my heartfelt condolences to Cajon and to all of her friends and family. I reached out to one of her friends today, and he hadn't heard. So, it's just mind blowing because, like I said, she's like in her 40s, and it was just so sudden and unexpected. So. And to those that are carrying on there, I'm glad that they're able to finish, and I think about them every day and with every post, because I know it has to be hard to continue their vacation without their friends. But that was that. So thank you guys very much. It's been wonderful. I'm headed to Cabe with a few of the rest of the folks around from the district here, and I'm really excited to go and get more information and see where we are and what the latest and newest trends, because I haven't been to Cabe in a few years. So it used to be my home away from home, but I haven't been around there in a long time. So thank you all, and happy spring, beginning of spring.
Yeah, I think it is spring break right now. So thank you, Ms. Chahusky. We'll move over here to my right to Ms. Alexander.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. So happy spring and happy Women's History Month. So to all the ladies and all the mothers, to the men there at the table, at the dais. So I've actually had a busy 2 weeks. I also participated in a Read Across America at Vermont Elementary. It was a lot of fun. I was there with some colleagues. I actually went behind Mickey to her class, and I ran into Mary Ellen. So it was a lot of fun. I had the third graders, and they had us up dancing, and I enjoyed myself. Last Friday, the Dr. Hill Mom Mob was relaunched by Dr. Dowdy, and we had a lot of ladies, and we actually had men that were in attendance. So it was super amazing at Warm Springs Elementary. The kids were excited just as much as the parents. We had a tunnel. The parents came through with their kids, and we had cheerleaders, and the principal shared stories about all his different students, which I thought was super amazing that he was that connected with his scholars and their stories. And we ended with a dance off with the kids at their right before school started, and it was a lot of fun. And then we ended with an opportunity just to pray over the principal, because he's super amazing. So I'm sure you all know him. It was my first time meeting him, and I felt really blessed to get to know him. I also, on that same day, went to San Gorgonio with a lot of us here, right? And I felt as if also the Aquatic Center and the Culinary Arts Center for the groundbreaking was amazing. And for me, it was very special because it was my first one with the school district, and very impressed with the students and even the band that participated and the color guard. The students that were just there to make sure that we felt comfortable. I felt like the community there was great, and definitely appreciated being there. And then from there, I did go to Cajon, and my prayer goes out to the family, Brandy's family, but also the faculty, the principal, could feel just what they were going through must have been really difficult to be able to hold that in without telling the students till the end of the day. Was very hard for the principal, so I just we should pray upon her as well. And then ended at Middle High School for their 10-year celebration, and that was my first time seeing a time capsule at a school, and that was pretty interesting as well, to be a part of that whole process. And I'm trying to think what else I did. I know I did a lot more. Oh, I've participated in the LCAP workshop, as well as the the district area council meeting. So it's been a pretty busy 2 weeks, very educational. I've met some partners and just really appreciate thus far what I've been able to do. Got a lot more work to do, so that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Moving on to Ms. Rosales Medina.
Yes, I have two items. One is, I'll start off with, I know we had spoken regarding having KPI, which is our key performance indicators for our board meeting, but I'm now looking at how can we add a specific item within the agenda, even if it's just brief conversation, presentation on one of the topics of key performance indicators, and maybe have it scheduled throughout the year. Different board meetings have one topic. That way, I know several public comments individuals have come forward during public comments to make sure, you know what, you don't even talk about the students' achievement or students' academics portion, and that way we already have it in the agenda. That's something that I would like to suggest, that we do look at having a key performance indicator item, or however you want to call it, on every board meeting, even if it's a brief update. That way it's not just board members receiving it on the Fridays update, but also the public are able to hear about it as well. So that's one suggestion. The other piece, and this is something that I just have not been able to, I know I've requested or try to find out, and I did ask Ms. Cunningham, when we approve certain positions, because I cannot remember approving or moving forward a salary increase. They're no longer here, but I want to make sure that we're not setting a practice of moving things forward without having board approval. So I did ask Ms. Cunningham to really look at that in investigating positions that are increased or individuals that are increasing positions and or pay without us knowing or us board approval. So if we can find out about that, and if there was just one, great. I mean, not great, but at least we know that it was just that one incident. But if there's other incidents, please let us know as well. So that's what I want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina. Ms. Grande?
I've always been really interested. Thank you. I've always been really interested in the WASC accreditation. I was involved in it in some small measure at Cal State as a student. And I remember I always followed Alan Kay because I knew he was involved in that. And I told him, I said, I'm really interested. And then so I had jumped at the opportunity to see our WASC accreditation team. And I met up with Mr. Tex Acosta again. And I've known him from years ago of fundraising with Manuela Sosa. And I said, I'm glad to see you all grown up. And he had his sons there, and they're taller than he was. So the ended where it was a wonderful event. I just learned a lot, and I was excited. And I said, you know, I want to be on that WASC team. And he said, you do? Well, it just so happens I'm the chairman here for our area. So he, long story short, too late. Somebody says that it's always too late. But he did invite me to join, so I'm still excited about that. We'll see what happens with that. I also participated in both the East Valley and the West Valley of the student advisory panel, and they both were I was just blown away. And so it was easy to talk about that today because I have just been inspired myself every time I go to an event, and this job just gets better and better. And I just can't wait to get up in the morning and see what else I'm behind on doing because I'm so busy. But I don't know what I'll be doing next year, but right now I'm truly enjoying every moment. And I just want to say thank you all for your continued support. And I did finally bring out my puppets at the third class. The first two classrooms, I told the story of Chato's Kitchen, my all-time favorite, because I like doing all the voices and the orale, I like doing all those things. And so I'll tell you some other stories that I like about that. But the older kids, I was almost away, and I took my puppets, but I was just, I had to wait and feel it because I don't want to scare children, and it can be scary. It can be scary. And Mr. Huxley ran into me and goes, "Oh, do you have what I think you have in that bag?" And I go, "Yes." I couldn't lie to her. And she goes, "Oh," and she turned around, she told the teacher, and then she told the kids. I was like, oh gosh. She goes, "Oh, well, I know you love me. Just wait till you see Mrs. Grande." That's like, oh my God, why could I had to open it up. I go, okay, just a friendly guide, no scary guys. So I brought out one of my little duck puppets, and they fit on so good. So I did a little bit, and I said, okay, he tells a joke. All right, so here it is. All right, and then I'm going to show you how to do it. And so my little puppet, I said, "I have a joke for you." "All right, you have a joke for me. What is it?" "Why did the chicken cross the road?" "I don't know. Why did a chicken cross the road?" "So he could stretch his other legs." Wow, that's horrible, horrible. And the kids just roared. They just loved it, right? So what I did is I spent some time teaching them the ventriloquist alphabet, and then I put the puppet on their hand. And most of them did, but there were some that were really scared. I go, "That's okay, because, teacher's scared too, aren't you, teacher?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah, come on over here. Don't be afraid." And so I taught the teacher to put her hand up there, right? And I said, "You really should try this with your shy ones." She goes, "I will." And so I left, and then they were all yelling, "Bye, bye." And this one little girl goes, "I love you." Best part of the whole day. And one more thing I want to share. Career Day, where were we? Vermont? Is that where we were? All right. The biggest crowd that I saw when I was there was M&O. Everybody loved it. And what they loved the most was that great big truck. And I said, "How come we can't let them go in there and see? That's like a hardware store." Because you should see all the great stuff. He says, "We tried, but we need a special ramp." I go, "Okay, well, let me tell somebody." So consider yourselves told. We need a safety ramp to get up to the big M&O truck, and we'll have our own movable exhibition all over the city. Yeah, we won't have to try so hard to get M&O employees. We're going to grow our own, Dr. Funches. We're going to grow our own M&O. We just got to put them in a big truck while they're young. All right, Diane.
Thank you, Ms. Grande. And I had to act out Chato's Kitchen when I did my multiple subject credential. I think I was Cool Cat. Is that one of the name of the characters? Novio Boy. That was him. I was Novio Boy. That's good. All right, Vice President Tillman. It was a great book, by the way. No comment by Vice President Tillman. Thank you, sir. Ms. Ceballos.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, I love you, Miss Abelis Grande. You and your puppets. One day you ought to bring here and share during your board comments a little bit. But anyway, I am encouraging her. I did just want to make a quick clarification. I guess last board meeting, there were some comments that I had made in regards to school psychs and counselors not seeing students, and I guess what I'm going to go back and correct some of that, because I really appreciate those of you who reached out to me and said, "Hey, Myra, you said some comments, and we know that's not the way you meant it, and so thank you for giving me the benefit of the doubt and the opportunity to correct myself." So here I go. So at the last board meeting, there were some ladies that came before us that were sharing with us some of the programs. It was an external partner, and I had said something along the lines that, the more the merrier, the more that we can get partners like that and people to come in and help and connect with our students. I'm all for it, because as we know now more than ever, our mental health and our social emotional areas for our students are, it's highly needed. And when I said that school psychs and counselors didn't meet with students, I didn't mean that they didn't meet with students, because as we all know, school psychs and school counselors are always meeting with students, and they're super busy. However, based on my experience as a school psychologist and based on my experience as a parent, and as well as having friends inside and outside the district that are school counselors, we don't always get the opportunity to meet with students. on that one-on-one like basis to provide more intensive types of supports. School counselors are always meeting with students. At the high school levels, they're meeting with them on for academic reasons, making sure they're on track to graduate and things like that, as well as applying for FAFSA and college applications and so forth. And school psychologists, we spend most of our time assessing, writing reports, and attending IEP meetings. That's the bulk of our day. And so what I more meant, and I guess I'll take this also as an opportunity to kind of encourage us as a district to look into a little bit more about providing more of those supports. At the elementary level, school counselors, at least several years ago, they were being utilized as admin designees. So oftentimes they also didn't get the chance to meet with students because of that reason. Hopefully that's no longer the case. And we've provided, VPs across the district to all of the elementary schools so that counselors can be freed up and be able to focus on, meeting with students and so forth. So yeah, with that being said, I know that there are some school districts, and since I first started here with the board, I've been curious to get more information about their tiered levels of support when it comes to providing students with social emotional support. And so I know that we have our Swiss department. And I'm more interested to if we could at some point maybe get a presentation or something to see how is it that we are bringing in those services and those supports into the schools directly. I know that there's other districts that separate their counselors. For example, they'll have counselors at a school site that are designated to provide like academic support type of support. And then they'll have another team to provide that social emotional piece and component to the students that will focus on their tier 1 and tier 2 levels of support. I know that here for us, we do have that tier 3 level of support when it comes to like ERMS. It's that one-on-one, but that's for special education students only. And I know that we have our HEART team, and that's through the Swiss department as well, and they provide that one-on-one support. But again, I think just the level of need that we have is that much more greater, and we ought to look more into bringing those services. And I know that we partner with outside organizations like Victor Community Service and things like that, but I think that we ought to bring those back into the schools. And so that's all I meant. No harm or ill-intended. I do apologize if it came off wrong. And I don't have a lot of time, but I do want to address Virtual Academy. I did ask for enrollment numbers. I know we're up to 803 currently. I'm curious to know where we were last year. I did see the projection on the Friday update that we're projecting to have 1,166 students enrolled next year. I'm just kind of curious where we're getting that projection from, and then how are we also supporting Virtual Academy to continue to grow? Or is it that we're doing away? Is it something that we just opened during following COVID? For those students, or if that's something that we're going to continue to have and hold. And then lastly, I do want to know if we continue to shrink those numbers. And I'm really sorry. I never go. Just let me finish. I do apologize for all those minutes I haven't taken. I'm really curious to know if we do continue to shrink the Virtual Academy. How are we going about relocating our staff? How are we making those decisions? Because I don't believe that distance learning is for everyone. It's not for every student. And similarly, distance teaching is also not for every employee. And so I'd be curious to see what our process is and how we're going about, deciding who we're going to keep and who we're going to relocate. Thank you so much, and I do apologize. I'll end 2 minutes next board meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Ceballos. Ms. Chahusky, you had a comment you wanted to add.
Thank you. I apologize.
Thank God for Mr. Tillman giving you both the gift of time.
Hey, I didn't use all my
All
time,
right.
so I was only like at 4 something,
And then
3
Mrs.
something.
Osmond,
So I just wanted to say really quickly, I also attended Student Leadership Advisory Council, where they also gave input on LCAP, which was really great to watch them working on all of that. But two other things out of that. One, we took some of the students and Dr. Rodriguez and myself, we went up to Cajon to watch to the behavioral pathway, the behavioral health pathway. Remember they mentioned it when they were here, and we were all like, what? We have a pathway on that? It was fabulous. The kids were having this conversation about power between, I can't remember exactly how they phrased it, but it was really about the power between, positional power between adults and the students. And they were having kind of a conversation, and given everything that's going on, it was actually a really good conversation that they were having. So if you get a chance to go up there and see what the work that those students are doing and the work that they're doing, we also watched their MTSS meeting, where they were going through everything they were doing with students, which was really helpful. And the reason I wanted to bring Slack up, because the last piece of this is the student board members. We have 5 surveys. I think we still have 2 out. They're waiting to give them to me until y'all finish them. So if you're not going to finish them, could you let us know so that we could just get moving on it? Or can we just, I'm just going to say, I'm going to give you till Friday, because you guys keep saying we want these student board members, but I can't do anything until I got it. So you got till Friday to get it. Dr. Rodriguez and I are trying to get a meeting together to get moving on this and get the SAC kids so we can at least have them for one meeting this year and get us going so we can start right off the get-go next year. So that's why I needed to go over that, because that was all part of the Slack piece.
Thank you, Mr. Husky. Ms. Rosales Medina.
I just wanted to piggyback. I didn't realize, Ms. Ceballos, when you mentioned that they're planning to decrease the amount of students at Virtual Academy. Is that what you just said? Did I miss?
Enrollment is declining.
Yeah, so the enrollment is declining, but okay, so then I would like maybe to get an update on that in general, maybe in a presentation, because the reality is if we're losing students to outside, maybe charter schools that are looking at alternative education as well. So if we see that there's a decline in enrollment, then what are we doing to boost? Maybe it's a different, in re-envisioning what the intention of is for the Virtual Academy. And I would like to have those conversations as well. Because if it's not working, why is it not working for some? And I know that charter schools are not struggling necessarily to pull students away that they're able to work with that are virtually as well. They're more in-depth. There's different types, but we'll definitely like to look at that.
All right, we got a light little fire going here. So Ms. Alexander and Vice President Tillman. And I will ask my colleagues, we asked the community to respect the time. We need to respect the time. Ms. Alexander.
I just have one question in reference to the Virtual Academy. Do we have KPIs for the Virtual Academy where we can see?
Executive Cabinet.
The Virtual Academy adheres to the same KPIs as every other school in the district. They are experiencing declining enrollment as COVID numbers are decreasing, and that was a main reason why we had students enrolling in the Virtual Academy. We do also have a group of students who just learn better in a virtual environment. And so we did foresee that we would have declining enrollment based on COVID. We are monitoring it. It is a very rigorous program. And so there are a lot of supports. We actually, from the Valdez contract that went through this, I think it was like 2 meetings ago, there are 200 slots designated specifically for students in the Virtual Academy so that they can have more wraparound services and actually in-home tutoring for students who are not doing well. We do adhere to state guidelines around independent study. If students are not making academic progress, they do not remain in the Virtual Academy. We're not going to let students just fail in those classes because they want to stay there. So there's lots of interventions that are provided, and one of those is for that wraparound service, going above and beyond, actually going to the homes in order to make sure that we can provide services to students. The program also offers after-school programs virtually. One of the big ones is Broadway Now that's being funded out of LCAP. They're a STEAM school, so lots of resources being provided to that campus, as well as special funding to provide college field trips for those students who are in 9 through 12. So there is a great amount of effort that is being put towards the Virtual Academy so that those students have an equitable experience in a virtual setting, just as they would if they were in a regular comprehensive school.
Thank you. And I think that's critically important for us to share that, because when we say that our numbers are declining, we need to be able to speak to our excellence as well. So thank you.
And thank you, folks. And again, on our board comments, we need to keep them to comments. When we have discussion like this, we need to agendize items. So I just want to keep that in mind. Vice President Tillman.
Yeah, and
thank
I
you.
just wanted to give a clear overview about the Virtual Academy. You know, the Virtual Academy came about because of COVID. And so you had parents that had concerns about sending their kids to a school. We also had teachers who had concerns about teaching at a physical site. It worked out because you had enough teachers to teach the students. If you look at our attendance, you'll notice that the rates are going up. So I just don't want people to get the impression that we're losing students. We're not. You have parents feeling comfortable to send their kids back to our sites. And it's actually going, it's working out because, well, it's not working out if you're a teacher that doesn't want to go back to a site, but the teachers have to follow where the students are. So basically, it is a success. We had an environment where students could learn in a virtual academy. Then, as the COVID subsided, and teachers and parents felt more comfortable sending their kids back to the site, that's what's happening. So
I think it goes back to who's. So I envisioned it different, and I think each of us. That's why I think a presentation would be great for us, board, not just comments, because I have so much to say on this topic, and I don't want to add to it. That I kind of disagree a little bit on that instance of what I expected the Virtual Academy to be, only because I came from a school that was similar to that and it was more enrichment. Okay, but anyways, I'll let that go.
And folks, I'm not going to have any more comments because this is going on and on. We could agendize this item and we need to stop the conversation. Okay, thank you very much. All right, my turn. And hopefully I won't even take anywhere near those 5 minutes because we need about 10 of them back. All right, just some things. Number one, I want to start off with saying thank you to my colleagues for being out there and supporting our programs. I've seen you everywhere and I'm hearing you being everywhere. So the great thing is that we're being seen and we're supporting our staff and students and programs. Let's make sure that's what we're doing out there, supporting them, encouraging and motivating them. I want to say thank you to our San Diego City Unified School District Ethnic Studies curriculum team. I actually saw them in action. I was at work and Joe Sal said, "Hey Scott, I think we're at your building. Come on down and check it out." And I said, "Thanks for the invite. I didn't know you were here." So I ran down there and we had a ton of teachers from many of our high schools. Almost every high school was represented. And I will say this, it was as about a diverse group as you could ever see. So that was pretty awesome as well, representing all the different cultures in our community and highlighting that in our soon-to-be ethnic studies. And I think that's the beauty about that. So great job to our team. And Joe, thank you for the invite. San Diego County Young Artists Gallery we had last week as well. And I don't know if all of us knew about that, but I kind of got like a last minute invite that as well from Principal Bernardo Valenzuela. And I am so glad that he gave me that invite because I shot over there right after work and said, wow, our kids were at Cal State San Bernardino. We had a student, Corina Gomez, who's a junior at Royal Valley High School, who had best of show. You have to see her artwork. It is absolutely phenomenal. It was just this absolutely incredible sculpture. And I'm sure we have a picture of it somewhere. We need to probably put it on our website because that was impressive. Not just her, there were many other amazing scholars there that, again, their creativity is just the best of the best. And I always say I will put our kids up against anybody in the county, and in this case, won the county. So great job to Ms. Gomez and our instructors as well, our teachers. And I did bend her a little bit about the Making Hope Foundation, so hopefully they're going to have an art display, presentation, and auction at our Making Hope Happen gala. So thank you to all of them. CSBA Legislative Action Week. I know some of us were there. Ms. Chahusky, thank you again for joining me. We got to talk with James Ramos's office, Senator Ramos, Senator Holden I got to meet as well in the afternoon. And we did tackle some of the assembly bills that are out there looking for full funding for LCFF and also zero impact to the AMM grant, which is art, music, instructional materials. We don't want them touching that either, so we want them both fully funded. The AMM grant does have a lot of flexibility, which I think is great, and we could really enhance our programs, and not just our programs, but school programs across the state. As we heard earlier, the Sanji groundbreaking. I have to admit, I was a little bit jealous of my colleagues. It only took me 8 years to go to a groundbreaking ceremony, and some of them did it in like 5 months or less. So congratulations to them. I felt like the old timer that hadn't seen anything. Middle College High, again, fantastic celebration. Congratulations to our students, staff, and families. Really proud of you for all you've done. And thank you to our local politicians that showed up as well. You know, I talked a little bit about collective impact and what it's going to take to change this city, change this county, change our district. We can't do it alone. We know that. So thank you to Mayor Tran, County Board Supervisor Joe Baca Jr. If I'm missing anybody, forgive me. But James Ramos's office, and who else? Help me out there. Eda Wanda, Dr. Fermina Jaramillo, who's my colleague at the county, representing county schools, and County Superintendent Ted Alejandre, who also is a trustee in Etiwanda Unified School District. Just an amazing group of educators and local politicians, community folks. Valley College was there as well, so thank you to Valley College, and coming together to create a model program. Middle College High is a model program. Our students, as I told them, thank you to you for saving our parents a lot of money and getting ahead on their studies. And that is my comments for this evening. I will pass it over to AIC, Ms. Anna Applegate.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. And I know many things were already mentioned, so I won't put too much detail in those. But I definitely wanted to recognize Dr. Hill for her contribution to the Mom Mob. We are so thankful to her. It is a blessing, and many of our staff are very grateful for that. She was out, our moms were out at Warm Springs Elementary for the Mom Mob. Thank you for being there, and that was fantastic. Also, last week I had the pleasure of representing the district alongside our partners in elected office during a press conference held by our hardworking Congressman Pete Aguilar, who you know also grew up in San Bernardino. 5th District County Supervisor Joe Baca Jr. and I joined Congressman Aguilar on Monday the 13th to announce more than a $2.5 million federal funding for key infrastructure improvements to Little 3rd Street near Monterey Elementary. So that will provide a safe walking space for our students to get to and from school. So we're extremely happy about that. We appreciate the collaborative partnership we enjoy with our dedicated elected officials, and I'm proud to be from a community that always puts children first. Also, we had a first. We had our Kinder Caminatas, which is children from different schools in the district, kindergarten students visiting Valley College as part of the nationwide effort to teach our children that college actually begins in kindergarten, going to college. So students wore matching colorful t-shirts. They also were welcomed by students and staff at Valley College. They were accompanied by their teachers, parents, college leaders, who were all there to show their support. The next wave of the little tiny college goers are visiting Valley College in the coming weeks. And by the time the Kinder Caminata finishes in April, close to 2,000 SPCUSD kindergartners will have visited the campus at Mount Vernon. So we appreciate the work of our Elementary Instruction Department Director, Amy Coker, and Dr. Rodriguez for providing the Kinder Caminatas. It was already mentioned, Middle College High School had their celebration. We're very proud of them as well. The celebration was hosted by Principal James Espinoza and was attended by several of you and several alumni and families. So thank you so much for that. Also across town, it was mentioned earlier, Sanji had their groundbreaking, which was fantastic, where they really showcased the new plans for culinary arts facilities and the aquatic center. The students will receive hands-on training to prepare them for careers in the restaurant and hospitality industry. It was a very nice interdivisional, interdepartmental, many district personnel involved, so we are thankful for all of that. And we invite you to join us for the next tour stop coming to the city's west side on April 5th at Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School, where we'll be celebrating the grand opening of the school's library and remodeled administration building. So we hope to see you all there. And I do want to thank our board in particular. Everywhere we go, we see you. So thank you so much for being present at all our events. We're very, very happy that you're out in the community and you're able to see all the great things happening in our district. I also wanted to thank our categorical programs department team under Director Kimberly Sargent, who had the LCAP meeting that Ms. Alexander talked about. So we thank them and all the directors that were involved in that as well. And thank you for the ask for the KPI presentation. I want to let you know that I have been talking to Mr. Ariano about presenting either a student achievement workshop or in somehow bringing you that information more regularly, because I know that that is something that you've been asking for. Okay, so that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Applegate, for your words of encouragement. I see a light on Ms. Marion Grande. You had a comment, a question for?
I just want to say to Dr. Applegate, when you go to the Caminata to San Bernardino Valley College, is that what it's called? Look for my giant poster hanging up there. My face is up there. I was honored last year as an alumni of distinction. So I get to file a big flat. You can say, that's your board member up there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. Moving right along, we're almost on track, a little bit behind, but we're going to catch up real quickly here. Approval of Personnel Report number 15 dated March 21st, 2023, which contains actions such as hiring, retirements, resignations, promotions, and terminations.
As presented.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by, I believe, Ms. Rosales Medina, seconded by Ms. Chahusky. Discussion, Vice President Tillman.
Yes, I wanted to say to Ms. Rosales Medina, you know, the items you talked about in terms of reclassifications and money, everything is in the personal report. Now, there are times when, and I'm sure it happened with our new superintendent, if there's items pertaining to administration or new positions, then we shouldn't have to make sure we read through the entire personal report to be aware of that. It's up to the administrators to tell us there's something that at first I need approval of, and I
Right.
want to go in this direction. And then now that we've done it, it's agendized so that we know. We shouldn't have
Right.
to find it ourselves. But it's going to be in the personnel report.
No, so I'm referring to, and I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not referring to these positions. I'm referring to the ones that are part of the cabinet, part of the ones that we're the ones that end up having to look at those
No, I agree.
individually.
But my point is, if you go back and look at prior personal reports, all those items were in the report. But what you're suggesting is that it should have been pulled out and the board should have been advised. And
Yes.
that's happened in the past. You wouldn't just put it in the personal report and get it passed without us knowing it.
Right.
There has to be some fidelity there.
Right.
Where the administrator knows that this is something that's not usual, and so I want to make sure the board is aware of it, and that the board approves of it.
Exactly. Thank you.
There is a correction in here. I don't know if it's a big deal, but they did add a newest board member, but they put the rate as an hourly rate. I don't know if it makes a difference because it says hourly, Dr. Funches, versus per meeting.
I can take a look at it. I don't think it's has anything to do with us having to pull it or.
I don't,
becoming a
but I
problem.
guess so when we approve it, we should make the change that it's the amount, the rate should be per board meeting.
And you can do that, and we'll take
All right.
care of it on the back end.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion or comments on that? 10.1. Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to 10.2, Transportation Plan, and I'll turn over to AIC, Ms. Applegate.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. And what you have in front of you is the transportation plan that includes our reimbursement for transportation that's required by the state. AB 181 requires the board to take action and approve that.
All righty. We would need a motion and a second first before any other discussion.
Moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Chahusky, seconded by Vice President Tillman. Any discussion? Vice President Tillman.
So I'm assuming this plan includes the adjustments needed for late start?
The plan you are adopting tonight is based on, the reimbursement is based on last year expenditures. Going forward, yes, it will include the total expenditures
Excuse me.
with the startup, as we doing our little startup program beginning next school year. So following year, the reimbursement will be based on the previous year expenditures. To this year, reimbursement again based on last year. So going forward, the answer is yes.
And is the formula for going forward going to be that same 60% that we get reimbursed?
You're correct.
And in terms of the transportation for late start, are you confident that we're going to be able to hire the transportation companies needed to provide us with doing it the way you guys have proposed?
You're correct.
Okay.
So everything as planned.
All right, because when we had a presentation earlier,
Yes.
the person doing the presentation said they weren't sure whether or not they were going to be able to hire the amount of transportation companies that were going to be needed to carry out the plan. So I want to make sure there's no ambiguity And we know that when the next school year starts, we're going to have enough companies hired to take care of those students.
Gentlemen, speaking to my team, they're giving me high confidence. There'll be no surprise.
Thank you very much.
All righty, any other discussion? Oh, Mr. Husky?
I just have a question because I couldn't find it. So it references the Menifee plan in here, but then I could not find actual, I mean, it said you could find it on here, but I couldn't find a reference in our plan to the Menifee plan or why we had a reference to the Menifee plan. So I was just wondering what that was.
Yeah, it's a good question. So basically the template requested us to take a look at other district LEA plans. So since the state actually did not come out with a template, typically they would come out with templates, but in this particular case, the transportation plan, the state did not. So what happened was Riverside County through Menifee Union actually created the first template, and a lot of districts statewide adopted the Menifee Union district plan. So they provided it to Riverside County Office of Education. And then from then, they then spread it out to a lot of other districts and said, hey, we recognize the state has not provided anyone any guidance on what to do for a transportation plan. This is what we came up with and adopted. And then the rest of the state transportation departments kind of latched onto that and said, okay, we're going to move with this singular vehicle. So what we did is we did reference that plan and we put the hyperlink in there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That answered my second question because they're so much smaller than we are. So I'm like, why Menifee bet that expensive? Thank you.
Yeah,
so
they were
much.
the first one to the party.
All righty, Ms. Ceballos.
So if you could just really quickly, like either confirm or, I guess deny. It sounds funny. I was looking over this and it just seems that we're continuing to do what we've been doing. So you've broken it down, general education, transportation. It includes the 2.5 miles for middle school, 3.5 for high school. That's already policy that we have. The MTC program is something that we're already doing. Homeless students, Vento Act, I don't know if that's something that I'm assuming it is. Students with disabilities, same thing. I mean, we provide per their IEP stipulation. So it doesn't really, unless I'm wrong, I'm not seeing really anything different from what we're already doing. It's just now we're getting like reimbursed for it. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. So we're actually far ahead of many other school districts that don't provide transportation services or minimal transportation services to their students. We're far more advanced as far as services offered. So that is correct. We're going to be getting reimbursements for services that we've already been providing, and we're already meeting the requirements and expectations. And the McKinney-Vento Act that you reference is a mandated act.
Amazing, beautiful. So that's really good to hear that we've already been doing this and, now we're actually going to get reimbursed for it. And then lastly, I did just wanted to, hear it from you again as to what Mr. Tillman had asked. So I do know that last time that you did come and present before us, there were some concerns that, even if we had the funding for it or, money wasn't an issue, there was a shortage of bus drivers and so forth. Are we good? Are we going to be okay?
I'm meeting with two of the companies tomorrow and on Thursday, First Student and Zoom. We're going to get a more accurate update. So what I can do is I can provide that information based off that feedback in this week's Friday update, maybe give you a more comprehensive. It's going to be about equipment acquisition. They do anticipate for the vendors that I've spoken to receiving the equipment in May and in June, so prior to our July 31 start. As far as staffing goes, it's something that they are working on. They already have. They're working with their service managers, their safety inspectors, their office managers, regional managers. So they're getting all their infrastructure in place. They've already held a few different staffing bus, basically where we're hiring conferences. So they've already had some of those even over at our PDC. So they're still in the process. They're not at 100% with staffing. So I think it'd be a little premature to say we're 100%, but we're working towards it and we're working in accordance with the plan that was laid out back in January. So I think we're meeting the metrics. I'll have a more up to date on this Friday based off the conversation I have tomorrow and Thursday.
Perfect, and I appreciate that because even though we're going to continue to do what we've already been doing, we are doubling basically because we're not staggering our bus, we're not, switching. So we're just duplicating because we're adding more buses to be on the road at the same time because of this late start thing, right?
That is correct.
Okay,
Yeah, we're going up to 350 bus routes.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Alexander.
Respect of looking at the different bus companies, are we making sure that we're looking at local companies, or what is our strategy?
Yeah, that went through an RFP process. We communicated it out. We actually, the initial response was over 100 companies. It quickly then dwindled down. I think once people realized what the scope of services were, and then those that were able to provide those services. And again, we're also looking for Yellow Bus. So there's several within that 100 that were not even going to be able to meet our needs, but they're interested. So they downloaded the RFP. So this RFP actually goes out on an electronic basis. So we're not necessarily picking up the phone any longer. So it's going out and it's communicating that way. So they download it, then they determine whether or not they're going to respond. And then through that entire process, we can actually track what the vendors are looking at doing. And then they're actually submitting the RFP. In the end, we wound up with 4 vendors that submitted the RFP, and we chose 3 of the vendors that were providing the Yellow Bus service.
Right, and I understand that. So we have a lot of macroeconomic pressures, though. So how do we account for any potential where maybe we have one baseline, but now we're looking at a larger pool, and that might impact our budget? Is that taken into consideration, or you just have like one flat rate that you're looking at?
Could you rephrase that question in a
Well,
different way?
looking
I wanna
at
make sure.
with macroeconomic pressures, with inflation, bottom line, there might be an increase. So how are we projecting how we're going to handle that if that
Okay.
happens?
All right, so we do have negotiated rates with them, so that's already been finalized, that those contracts have been set.
Okay.
So the service expectations, service requirements, and fees for those services have already been established through the RFP process.
Okay.
So that contract's been set, and that's going to be in place for the next 5 years.
Thank you.
But then it'll be up to Mr. Islam to ensure that we have the money to pay for it.
Yes, Mr. Tillman, we took the plan is approved by the board. All due respect to all members of the board, we carry on and we built everything into the plan going forward. Yes, answer is yes.
All righty, if there is any other discussion, it was a motion properly second. Let's go ahead and vote on it. All right, motion carries. Moving on to 10.3, resolution to approve the procurement of vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
It was moved by Vice President Tillman, second by Board Member Cevallos. I'm asking for comments. Vice President Tillman, then Ms. Felicia Alexander.
And does the district have any type of, at the county, we had a motor pool where we had vehicles that staff could check out. Do we have anything like that in the district?
We do. We actually have a pool of vehicles over at the M&O yard, and we also have a reservation process. So if people are interested, staff members are interested in reserving a vehicle, they can contact M&O, and we can have the vehicles arranged for them.
And do we have any of these vans there?
We do have some vans, a limited number of vans. Now, some of the vans could potentially be in use. They're typically used by our custodial team, but we do have passenger vans.
And so I think it'd be a good idea for us to, because I've had this request over the years, and I just thought about it tonight. Why wouldn't we buy a bunch of these vans that all the sites want and then put them in the pool and allow the sites to check the vehicles out if they're qualified to drive the vans? Because that would be better than like a high school that approached me and say, hey, we need 2 vans. And I know for a fact, majority of the time the van will be sitting there. But if we put it in a pooled area, then all the schools could use it. So we just have to make sure we had enough so that they'd be able to go and get them. And of course, you have to have staffing to be able to, check it out to them.
That's true. And I did misspeak. We have vehicles available for reservation. Now, as far as the vans you're referring to, the 11 passenger vans or even 9 passenger vans, we only have 2 of those in our fleet.
So what do we do I need board consensus to do it. So maybe we can, this is a agendized item. So, what do you guys think about acquiring more vans so that the sites can use them?
So I have some concerns, because if you think about just our overall strategy in the state of California, how are we prepared in terms of just electrifying our fleet? I think that's what we really need to be addressing versus dealing with the existing fleet. And I mean, your idea makes sense in terms of dealing with the current need, but strategically, where are we going? Because
No, I don't have a problem. It could be electric vans if it's doable. But I'm saying I've had a request from a number of sites that say we need vans. So I think we should look into purchasing more vans for sites. They could be electric vans. For example, at San Andreas, they have a number of field trips and events that they want to go to, and they can't do it because they don't have the vans. And if they had access to the vans, it'd be great. And they said to me, we have this additional money. Can we use this one-time money to purchase these vehicles? But they were looking at it for their site. But my thought is, if we had it in a multiple system, then they would be being used constantly.
Mr. Tillman, to respond to what you expressed, this resolutions will allow us to buy 5 vans for family engagements. Again, this is a resolutions we need your approval due to the fact the bid is expired. We don't have the bid. So I'm going back to what you were just referring to. Excellent idea. I know it is not that.
You're right, and I just use this as a area where I could comment on it because it is buying stuff. So I'm just saying, rather than buy the 5, we should buy some more and consider doing a pool. But I'm all fine with having the item agendized in the future.
That's what I was going to say. Kind of like earlier. Again, we're going into a deeper discussion outside of 10.3. That is something I would recommend we agendize, but let's try to stick to the scope of 10.3, and then we can build upon that. Ms. Alexander.
I just had a couple of questions, or just to gain a little bit more insight. Do we have any EVs? Do we have any electric vehicles?
We actually have, for this next fiscal year, we have money set aside in order to purchase our first round of electric vehicles. As you may have heard, Governor Newsom signed into law the carbon neutrality goal. So we are going for carbon neutrality at 2040. But as far as vehicles go, it's going to be zero emission vehicles as of 2035. So with that in mind comes the infrastructure. There's a lot of grants. We're working with SCE on the Charge Ready program to start building infrastructure. DSA also has already instituted, and that was as of January 1st of this year. Any construction that works and touches a parking lot will have the EV infrastructure requirements, and 25% of the parking spaces that are designated as EV also have to have the corresponding electrical vehicle charging stations. So we're moving in that realm and you probably seen when we were over at the CTE building just across from where everyone was meeting, you saw that was actually our very first EV installation for the public as well as for the school district staff. But we're moving in that direction, and our first 10 vehicles will be in this next year. We're going to be looking at our white fleet first with regard to our warehouse, as well as other smaller light duty vehicles within the M&O yard.
Right. Thank you for that. So I actually need a little bit more clarification though, because strategically, I thought we were looking at about 31 vehicles in this proposal. Is that, or this resolution? Is that what you're proposing here?
That is correct. It's 26 for maintenance and operation vehicles and 5 vehicles for the Family Engagement Office, and those are going to be gasoline vehicles. With our current fleet, just for you guys' awareness, we have 403 vehicles within the district. Our oldest vehicle is 1968, but our oldest gasoline vehicle is 1978. And we have about 22 of those that are in the 70s and 80s, and those are vehicles that we would like to retire. The 5 that you see in the resolution for M&O that are under the emergency or critical condition are vehicles, 2 of them were involved in an accident or out of commission, and 3 of them are vehicles that don't have any AC. And we really like to get those replaced for M&O before the heat comes. So that's why it's a sense of urgency for us to get those vehicles replaced. So that's the 5 for M&O, and the other 5 are for family engagement in order to meet the expectations and initiatives that the parent engagement team is putting into place.
Right. So my concern is though, so the passenger and the Connect passenger wagon, by 2035, you do have like a baseline, right? Where the governor has actually lined out by 2026, you got to have 35% of your fleet. And then by 2028, it should be 51%. So I guess my biggest concern is when I look at the numbers, because you said not to exceed 500,000. And so how do we account for that? Because I think it's a great idea. I think there is a need that we have to fulfill. but how do we account for making sure we achieve those numbers and also make sure we stay within what you're proposing? I'm thinking it should be a little bit higher, considering when we start looking at, you address supply chain issues, but you look at just the supply part in terms of just the cost associated with those vehicles. How do we account for maybe more?
Yeah, these
and
are
then the
great
infrastructure.
questions. Yeah, these are fantastic because the board resolution is actually going to be for our immediate need for the gasoline fleet. Our conversion over for the electric vehicle fleet is an additional $750,000. So it's outside of this board resolution. That's going to be something that we're going to be seeing later.
Right.
Folks, I want to go back to, are these two separate conversations versed on the resolution to approve the procurement of vehicles and the conversation taking place about EVs and infrastructure and all that? And maybe either Sam or you or Mr. Islam could clarify that, because I don't want to get outside the scope of what we're doing on 10.3 because we got more comments coming. So if this is an item about not 10.3, we need to agendize it. So I just want to.
We can. And,
We, so just so I'm clear though, we have to do right by our students. So this is also environmentally friendly to make sure that from a sustainability perspective, we do it right. So I understand what you're saying, but I just want to make sure I bring that out into the open.
If I may, Board President, just want to add some information regarding our energy plan. And again, the environmental impact is important, right? And that's one of the reasons why we're trying to do this, reduce our energy emission gases. Just a quick energy update. What we're looking at is our solar production is 21 million kilowatt hours per year. It's one of the highest in the state of California, especially for K-12. Our district is #1 in the entire state of California on Energy Use Index, which is a standard apples to apples comparison for the amount of energy that is utilized per square foot. And we also were #1 with EPA Energy Star certified buildings in the state. And we're #4 in the nation. And this current year, we're actually, we went down one spot to #5, but we're definitely moving forward. We're very proactive with a lot of our energy use reductions. The next phase is going to be our push into the EV arena. And once we ramp in and get our infrastructure in place, we'll rapidly move into that market.
Okay. I believe Ms. Chahusky is next.
Thank you. Will the family engagement vans also be available? Like I know like youth services vans and some of the other vans will be available. Will these be available if needed?
I'll answer that question. Yes, those vehicles will be, we have one vehicle per cluster. And so that is to be able to transport parents if they need to go to the doctor or to adult school or any service. But they are also available to check out for any campus that may need it for an activity.
And then I would like to agendize for future what the EV plan is for the school district, because the 2035 doesn't just impact what we need for the district's vehicles. It's also going to impact if every teacher, every staff person at every school site needs to charge a car or a vehicle. That's going to be a substantial cost for everybody to, to change what we do and what do we do for folks that have to park on the streets because they're parking there. So I would like to have that agendized at a future.
I think we have to look for consensus, #1, because I know we have a lot of discussion about this, which is not 10.3. So I recommend we agendize it and not talk about it anymore. Focus on 10.3 so we can vote upon that and then have a further discussion.
I just asked for it to be
EV,
agendized based on what Ms. Alexander said.
I would agree. It's
and
perfect.
the questions that I have that I don't want to ask right now, I'm asking for it to be agendized. And I'm just letting you know why, so I can get consensus.
So do we have
they
consensus
understand.
for that?
Yes,
Okay.
but I have a comment.
And then I'd also like to agendize Mr. Tillman's request about the whole van checkout process and making sure that we have the vans that we need for schools for smaller field trips and things, because that might save us. We have reason. My reason isn't just that; it's also because we've had some interesting buses that have come to take our kids that we might have been able to use our vans instead of the interesting buses. So
Thank you,
there's
Ms.
consensus
Chahusky.
on
I
that.
think Ms. Rosmany and then Ms. Ceballos and Ms. Alexander. Oh, on that one as well. I think I don't know if they're one and the same or a transportation conversation. I mean, under the same? Okay, so we'll include the EV conversation, the infrastructure, transportation, and then capacity as well. Okay. That would be great. Thank you. All right, Ms. Rosales Medina, I think you're next.
For
right?
me
I don't
personally,
see-
when we're talking about approving these vehicles, I do see that they go hand in hand when you talk about EV vehicles. The only reason why is because then I don't want to keep say for when you're in a household and you're going to buy something in several years down the line. Well, I'd rather just either buy it now at a cheaper version or narrow it down. So I just think it's a waste of money to buy all these vehicles without it being EV already. Now I get the conversation that we're going to have in the future pertaining to stations, but I think it's, for me personally, a waste of money just purchasing all of these vehicles without it being already EV. And so, so for me personally, I'm even looking at not supporting it because they're not EV vehicles, and I don't think the department really thought about. We're going to purchase 26. Let me see. Hold on. 31 in total, and it not. That's a lot of vehicles. That is a lot of vehicles, and if we have to narrow it down a little bit just so we can able to buy the EV, might as well do it. It's just, for me personally, just a waste of money. I do want to have parents and parent engagement, being able to access school sites, being able to engage, being able to have access to vehicles that they can take students or families around. But doing it this way is just, we're going to do double spending.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina. Ms. Ceballos?
Actually, I kind of along the same lines. I really appreciate Ms. Alexander's input, and I think it was not out of the scope. I think it was pretty relevant. I was trying to follow along, and I Mr. Tillman has his light on, and I'm interested to hear what he has to say afterwards. But I'm following the same thinking as Ms. Medina as well, in terms of if we're going to make the investment, I would rather make the investment with EV. However, I think that what Ms. Chahusky was trying to say too, is that even if we make those purchases EV, we have nowhere to plug them. So we don't have the infrastructure. So that's how it's all relevant. And that's why the conversation, every aspect of the conversation that was being had here was relevant. So I think that I don't know what needs to happen. Maybe this needs to come back because, and I don't know how urgently we need these, or I don't know if we can purchase maybe a portion of it and not the whole thing that's being recommended here. But I do want to make sure that we are moving in that direction.
Thank you, Ms. Ceballos, Ms. Felicia Alexander, then Mr. Tillman, then Ms. Chahusky.
Can I make it clear?
I was going to say, we probably need some clarity from staff on this.
Can I make it clear on this resolutions?
Yes, thank you, Mohammed.
Board? Thank you, Dr. White. This resolution's not authorizing us buying 31 vehicles. Let's be very clear. This resolutions only authorize spend up to 500,000. If you read the resolution, it says the limit, not to exceed. Why is that? You may wonder. As I stated, we don't have existing bid in place. This is a huge purchase. 31 vehicles is going to cost you close to, let's say, at least over $20 million. Okay. So this resolution is a temporary, the bridge in the need of this district right now. We have transportations currently in M&O and out. We have total 497 vehicles in operations. Majority of them is 20 years and old. It's like driving an old car. It can break anytime. It's not reliable. Safety is the issue. So why is the urgency of the matter? Why bring the resolution to you, the board? We can't wait. It has an impact to our business right now as we speak. This resolution only authorizes up to max 10 vehicles, not to exceed 10, because the amount is a max 500,000. So I hear you. Going forward, we have no choice. As you heard, 2035, it's a state law. We, being a public agency, we have to comply. Otherwise, we'll be penalized, big time penalty. It's not if, we must. So this resolution, I'm asking you, board, just simply approving these resolutions, giving us to help to replace some of the vehicles our employees are currently driving. They're not the conditions. Our fleet right now, they're old and they're not safe to drive. They're not reliable. So it's not giving authorization to buy 31, number one. It's only up to max 500,000. We are also working on the bid process right now as we speak. That bid will come to you as a board for approval at later date. I hope it makes sense to you both.
And it's, by what I'm reading, it's 4 to 5 vehicles. Is that correct?
Sorry, the maximum 10 probably, or less than 10. We're shooting for 5 of them for family engagement and 5 of them for M&O. But our critical need is 31, as you see 26 for M&O. We're not taking this resolution to buy 26 today. This resolution only meant for 5. 5 for family engagement and 5 for, M&O, not to exceed 500,000. If 500,000 can only buy 8, we will only buy 8. The amount is a cap.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Alexander?
Mr. Islam, I guess for me, I just want to get clarification. Did we look at other options in terms of maybe leasing or outsource options versus purchasing? Did we take that into consideration for the short-term need?
Well, this wouldn't be a short-term need. This is going to be for a long-term need.
So
No, the answer is no. To answer your question, I don't want to dodge the question, but it's not a short-term need.
Right. So long-term, it still would be out of compliance. Yeah. And I think the reason why it's misleading, because it does start off with you have to, your focus is to 31 vehicles. So that's why the concentration was on that. I did read the language that it should not exceed 500,000. But even looking at the numbers, there's still questions there. So I would think that we probably create some type of baseline, for this. It is a short term because it's not long term. When I look at just even the legislation we talked about, that would be my only concern and something we should take into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alexander. Vice President Tillman?
I really think that it's critical that we pass this tonight because staff is asking for it. The process they said they started the process already to purchase the vehicles. Some of them are for maintenance, which means there are trucks and a whole list of things. I know for a fact because I ordered a Corvette last year. It's going to be 14 months, and the man told me now it's going to be another 8 months. So cars, and they says because of the supply chain. So what you don't want to do is delay a process for buying a vehicle right now. So I hear what you guys are saying, and all that's great about the future of EVs, and I'm all for it. But now they need vehicles. They said 2 of the vehicles were destroyed in wrecks. It's only $500,000. We need to expend the money now for these vehicles. The worst thing you could do right now was to vote no on this. It doesn't benefit anybody because no one's going to get the vehicles. The family engagement will not get vehicles for years. If you guys say you're going to wait until you get a EV 11 passenger, whatever it is, van, if they exist. But and I'm all for it. But I'm saying for this item, we should move forward with approving it. And then agendize, as we have agreed, we have consensus, we'll agendize what our plan is for future purchases so that staff know when they bring it to us that it's part of the plan. But you were making a huge mistake, and I'm making it clear because I heard some of you say you're not going to vote for it. You will be making a huge mistake if we don't pass this. So I hope we got 4 votes to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Tillman. Ms. Chahusky?
I also hope that we pass this tonight for the reasons that Mr. Tillman said, but also because we just don't have the infrastructure right now for EV, and the cost to do that is going to exceed what this is at this moment in time, and they need these vehicles right now. One of the reasons I want to agendize this is because I want to get it out there, because when I started thinking about this, as you were talking about what it's going to take, it would take our entire budget. Like, we wouldn't be able to teach kids. We wouldn't be able to pay our employees for what it's going to take to put chargers at our 80 sites, 70, for all of our employees, our staff, our parents who come up in, plus all of our district vehicles. So this is going to be a very complex problem that I'm glad that we're going to start talking about, now, and that we're going to agendize, because if school districts don't start talking about it, there's going to be a mandate by the state that we're not going to be able to meet. We're either going to have EV cards or we're going to educate kids. So just because of infrastructure and the replacement. So I would encourage that we do this while we can. I understand the environment. That's a push me pull you that we're all having right now on how do we effectively do that. And I want you to know that that I hear you, that I think you're right, but I think we have an immediate need versus how the heck are we going to do this? Because when you really start wrapping your mind around it, it's huge. And so I think the more that we can talk about it and the more that we can get our staff to talk about it, I think it's something that we're going to have to talk about with our legislators, because the only way that they're going to do it is they're going to have to fund all 1,000 school districts, with the money to be able to convert. And that's going to start a whole nother conversation at the state level, because this is, it's an unfunded mandate at this point that's going to devastate public education.
What I'm hearing is that
Thank you,
it's
Ms. Jahusky.
doable.
Ms. Rosales Medina?
So what I'm hearing, though, it's doable. So I don't understand what this conversation is, that we don't have the infrastructure, when the reality is we have, it's not just our facilities, that we do have some infrastructure for several EV vehicles. We do. We have it at the district up north. There's a few stations there, but the thing is that we also can think out the box. There's other EV stations that we can actually not lease out, but utilize. There's San Manuel that has a few stations at their sites. I mean, we could look at other places. And the thing is that now that he actually made it easier for me to support this in a way where I'll move to have EV vehicles added into the language, so that way you can go ahead and approve it right now with the EV vehicles, just add the EV in front of the vehicles. And that way we could move for it, because what he's saying is that we're not going to purchase all 31. It's going to be in phases. Even that makes it easier. Makes total sense. So I would motion to have EV vehicles placed in front of the word, so that way we can go ahead and approve it right now.
Well, right now there's a current motion and it has been seconded. We're in discussion phase. We can amend a motion and then it would need a second, and then we'd have additional discussion, and then we could vote. Or we could vote as is. I mean, we have a lot of discussion going on right here. In my opinion, this discussion, as we said, is to be agendized. We have an action item.
Actually, we call for the question as for the motion on the table. If it doesn't pass, then we'll look for something else.
And I was getting to that, Mr. Tillman, because what I want to emphasize is an action item for us to act on tonight, right? And we can amend it, but right now there's a current motion and a second on the table. We could vote on it, and if it doesn't pass, then we'll have more discussion. But right now, I feel like we're going round and round, and we need to really focus on what we want to do in the future, which is why we agendized it. So I would ask for a vote right now as it is written, the resolution. Well, we have a lot of lights on, folks, and I'm going to say, I'm going to make a present decision, say we need to vote, and then we'll go from there.
Can I ask one last question? It's going to be very
vote.
direct.
No,
it's for the vote.
I'm asking
Okay.
for a vote, please. Thank you. And then we could go from there. Can you confirm that? Karen, my eyes are pretty bad, so 4 to 3. All right, so motion carries 4-3. We have agendized further discussion for electric vehicles. I believe our future of transportation in the district. Did we miss anything else to agendize on that topic?
I just want to make sure that they come better prepared when it comes to future, I feel like there's a possibility that he was not fully prepared to move forward on something that was doable.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina. We'll move on now to 11.0 consent items. 11.1 approval consent items.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Vice President Tillman, second by Ms. Chahusky. Any discussion or items to be pulled?
I'm going to pull 11.3.
That's already been removed. Okay. Any others? All righty, let's go ahead and vote on consent agenda. All right, consent agenda motion carries. We're going to move on to 12.1, which is staff will review items to be updated and requested.
So I am taking the place today of another vacancy that we have in the district.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. We were wondering about that earlier.
Yes, sir. So we have a total of 24 requests.
Wait. But didn't I pulled 11.3? We didn't have.
Actually, it was pulled from the meeting earlier.
Oh,
at the
you
beginning.
pulled it. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you, Mr. Salzman. Thank you, Ms. Applegate. Dr. Rodriguez.
Yes, sir. So we have 24 requests made today, starting with Mrs. Aviles Grande asking for the district to evaluate better food choices for students that are culturally relevant. From Mr. Tillman, follow up on the Indian Springs campus unrest, making sure that students involved may not face retaliatory actions, as in not going to the prom, etc. Mr. Tillman also asked for follow-up regarding carpet at Harmon. Mrs. Grande asked to set up a board visit to Harmon. Ms. Chahusky asked that we ensure that all sites have adequate resources, i.e. schools like Harmon. Dr. Wyatt requested an update on the technology refresh plan. Dr. Wyatt also requested an update on the modernization plan for Harmon. Mr. Tillman asked about where drones would be stored. Dr. Wyatt asked for more information, perhaps a board presentation about the use of drones. Mrs. Alexander asked the district to ensure equity that schools have access to drones. Mrs. Rosales Medina asked, how can we add a specific item of, for example, one KPI or a different indicator at different board meetings so that it is discussed at every board meeting. Mrs. Rosales Medina also asked the district to investigate salary increases or positions, moving forward without board approval, for example, cabinet level positions. Mrs. Aviles Grande asked for a safety ramp for the M&O truck to use for career day. Ms. Ceballos asked to look into providing more support at elementary level for school counselors. Mrs. Ceballos also asked about a presentation around SEL for Tier 1 and Tier 2 support. Ms. Ceballos and Mrs. Rosales Medina asked for enrollment numbers for Virtual Academy, asked how the district is supporting Virtual Academy to increase their enrollment, and how is the district transferring teachers if enrollment decreases. Ms. Chahusky asked about student board members, asked that all board members have, she informed all board members that they have till Friday to turn in their survey so that she and I can move forward with the selection and moving forward with those board members. Mrs. Alexander asked for KPIs for Virtual Academy. Mrs. Rosales Medina asked for a special presentation about Virtual Academy. Mr. Tillman asked for follow-up into buying vans for sites and allowing sites to check out vehicles, a motor pool system. Mr. Tillman and Dr. Wyatt asked about agendizing the buying of more vehicles for a motor pool system. Mrs. Alexander and Ms. Chahusky asked around electric vehicles. What is the plan to bring the fleet of vehicles in the district up to new standards for EV legislation? How do we account for more EV vehicles? And there was consensus to add this as an agenda item. Mrs. Alexander asked for clarification as far as did we take into consideration the lease of electric vehicles to meet short-term need for vehicles in the district. Mrs. Rosales Medina asked if we could look for other places in the area to charge electric vehicles, such as the PDC and San Manuel. And then Mrs. Rosales Medina also asked or stated that the district should be more prepared on something like a plan B for changing gasoline to electric vehicles.
Great.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Looks like we have a light on from Ms. Mary Ellen Grande.
Yes, may I also add one more proposed visit for us or anyone who would like to go, is to visit the subacute. It was my last assignment as a teacher, and this last month we lost, we had 2 students die, and we had asked the prior year for, I think, some social emotional for our employees, because it is very, and we were told actually just no. And so even though it's a hospital setting and you're supposed to expect it, I mean, that two of our students within the last month, and these are very loved, and if they don't have a guardian or parent, the nurses and everyone who works there loves them. And so I know Lori Quarry, the teacher there in charge, we still have other staff members that are there, and I just want to, we talk about all students and all staff, and this is a very tiny margin, but they're just as important. So I'd like to share that with you. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Mary Ellen Grande. And for clarification, we do have EAP, right?
Yes, we do.
For those of you that aren't familiar with the acronym, it is Employee Assistance Program. And that, I want to make sure we had it here, because I know with county, when I do have staff that we go through such duress, one, I offer our own clinicians, but two, we always offer them EAP. So we got to make sure our employees, our administrators know that for our staff that go through such loss, because I go through loss a lot, and I understand that. Ms. Rosales Medina?
Yes, just before we close, we want to make sure that we do the moment of silence for the teacher that passed away. But before that, I just wanted to clarify, only because for some reason, I did not hear that 11.3 other than me saying it being pulled. So I wanted to make sure for those that also came to speak. So it was pulled and it was not included and not voted on, just to make sure.
Correct.
Okay, good, thank you.
All righty, and was there any other concerns, questions on that?
I believe it was pulled during the first, where we have the
approval of the agenda.
Approval of the agenda. Who was it that pulled it? There you go.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or clarifications for items, updates, requests? I know that was a lot. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. I think a lot of those will be able to be pulled into particular presentations, which will be great, because there are a lot of questions today, and a lot of good questions and concerns moving forward. So thank you for that. All right, folks, we are at that time of 13.0 closing, so I will ask us to convene again to a moment of silence for our Cajon High School SPED teacher, Miss Brandy Bartley, for her and her family, as well as our staff and our students. So we can have a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved to adjourn by Vice President Tillman, and I think that was Ms. Jahusky. I don't know if it was her, Ms. Ceballos. Was that Ms. Ceballos? Oh, wow. Ms. Ceballos with energy and passion. All right, folks, so meeting adjourned. Please drive carefully. I heard it is raining heavily out there. That is what I've been told. Some of you may be going home to loss of power as well. Electricity is out, I found out, in parts of our town, at least where I live. So check before you get home. Little Mountain area. Yeah, it's gone out twice tonight. I didn't know that till right now. So please be careful driving home and going home. Might be dark when you get there, so if you have a flashlight, be ready. And God bless you all.